Rise up this morning, I smiled at the rising sun, and three little birds having breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Pacho Man.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Welcome to Breakfast from Kona. We are presented by Active, #Inspired to Race. Paul Huddle is out at the Underpants Run, counting underpantsers, trying to see if they can break the world record. Our sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio. Our guests, two legends. We're talking absolute legends. Mr. Mike Reilly, the voice of Ironman, doing his 26th Ironman here in Kona in a row, 139th Ironman around the world, and the race director from the Boston Marathon, Mr. Dave McGillivray, who has run the Boston Marathon, besides putting it on, 42 years in a row. How you boys doing?
Everyone's good.
Aloha.
Aloha. So, Dave, 1980, we both were on Oahu doing some really crazy deal called the Ironman Triathlon. 108 people coming over there. What do you remember about that day?
The most I remember about it is they weighed us in before we went in the water.
Yeah.
And then they weighed us in when we get off the bike, and then they weighed us in twice on the run. And it's pretty interesting to be waiting in line on the marathon run to get on the scale to be weighed to make sure you didn't lose more than 10% of your body weight or that you'd be yanked from the event.
Isn't that funny? And like, people don't realize this, but there was no aid stations back then. So you had to have your own crew, and I don't think you knew you had to have a crew.
No, when I got there, you know, I thought they had, you know, course signage and aid station. They had nothing. And they said, well, where's your crew? I said, I don't have a crew. And they threw the phone book down in front of me and they said, call somebody.
So
I just randomly picked someone out of the phone book and called and found a Navy SEAL and his little daughter, and they were my crew for the whole day.
So you basically just found some stranger. You're like, hey, listen, dude, can you come crew for me? You have no idea if I'm a stalker, if I'm a serial killer.
No,
come do it.
No idea. And he picked me up in my hotel and in this little Honda Civic, and I had to put my bike on this roof and roll down the window and hold the bike on top of the roof all the way to the start at the Alamoana Canal where we had to do it. So
I love that. So Mike, you've been here so many times, and you've called him. How many times have you done this race?
8 so far.
8. So you've called Dave across the line a number of times.
A few times.
And you go back. How long do you guys go back?
Well, we go back when I was representing Saucony in the West.
Yeah.
Dave was actually like the promotions manager for the company, and so I went back to a sales meeting and met him for the first time, probably 81.
Wow.
Yeah, probably 81, 82. And we just kind of hooked up, and I was a runner, and a lot of the Saucony reps at that time weren't real runners.
Yeah.
And we went for a run, and then he came out to San Diego, and we traveled the territory together. And then, you know, he was always working with Boston at that time. He was a technical race director, and then became the race director. But yeah, we've been together for a long time.
So, Dave, when you think back to your early days, I remember when you were, how old were you when you decided you wanted to run Boston?
I was 17,
right,
and you had to be 18.
Right, so you faked it.
So I was branded. Don't tell the race director that.
Who was the race director?
So obviously I didn't earn the right to be there.
Right.
Ran the race, dropped out at Heartbreak Hill, got taken to the Newton Wellesley Hospital in an ambulance, and vowed to come back the next year, trained, and officially registered, and I did it.
At 18?
At 18.
And you've
in
done
1973, and I've done it the last 42 years. Obviously, the last 27, a little differently.
Right.
Once everyone is done, I go back out to the start and bring up the rear, and I've been the last finisher for the last 27 years.
Did you plan that first time, or did it just sort of happen?
Well, it was tough to make the decision whether I wanted to run in the race or run the race.
Because you had a pretty good streak at that point.
I had like about 15 or so in a row then, and I needed the money, so I took the job. You know? And then I was standing at the finish line of the marathon, and everyone's finishing, and I'm congratulating them, but I had a real pit in my stomach, like something's missing here. And I tapped a state police trooper on the shoulder, and I said, "Officer, you do me a favor." He said, "What?" I said, "Will you drive me back to the start?" He said, "Why? Did you forget something?" I said, "Yeah, I forgot to run." And he drove me back out, and I started at 8 o'clock at night, finished at 11 o'clock at night, and that's what I've been doing ever since.
And 2 years ago, with the bombings at Boston, that changed our world from people they'd show video of our athletes finishing and show some times, but all of a sudden Boston and all the marathons became national news. Mm-hmm. How did that change your life?
Well, I mean, for me, it's there were a lot of different stories within the story, but for me, the day started off going great. I mean, the weather was perfect, everything was going great. I was on the lead motorcycle, went down course, got to the finish, everything was great, and then I checked in with my staff, said, is it okay for me to head back out to the start and take off? And they said, fine. I went back to the start, and that's when I got the phone call standing on the starting line. And I didn't know whether to believe it or not. I didn't know whether it was credible information. I mean, how can bombs go off at a road race? But obviously I realized it was true and hustled back to the start, to the finish, and went back to work then. And it was interesting. 2 days later, I went home and saw my 8-year-old son who was sitting in the bleachers and saw everything. And he come up to me, he gave me a hug, and he said, Dad, if you were, he says, I don't ever want you to direct that race again. So he associated my job with danger, putting on a road race.
Right.
No, I always thought it was chalk marking the road, yell go, give him a bowl of beef stew, and that's the end of it.
Somebody had a cramp, somebody might have some heat issues.
And that's it. Now it's a whole new world. And so this past year, 2014, and dealing with the 12 months between 2013 and 2014 was arguably the most taxing and anxious and challenging time of my life in terms of managing a race. But it all come off extremely well. It was epic. We took back the finish line. We took back Boylston Street, and we took back our race.
And you're here racing in honor of Martin Richard.
Yeah, Martin Richard was the little 8-year-old boy who was actually standing across the street from where my 8-year-old son was sitting in the bleachers, and unfortunately he was killed in the bombings, and they started a foundation in his name, and I just felt that I have to do something to honor him and his family, and so I ran the marathon to raise money for the MR8 Martin Richard Foundation, and I'm doing it again here in Kona.
Love that. Mike, over the years, obviously you've been here for Mark and Dave and Iron War and all the amazing races up front. But so much of the stories of somebody, Dave, racing for somebody else, those are things that really tug at us. For you, what have been some of the most emotional finishes that you've called?
Well, there's been a lot of them, but my most emotional ones are the ones where I have friends who have gone through some trials and tribulations, like Dave. And when they come in, it's obviously public, but yet it's personal because I know them as a friend. And so those are my most memorable because they touch me. The crowd doesn't hear it any differently than me bringing anybody else in. But it tugs at me, because I know what Dave's gone through. I know what others have gone through because they're friends of mine. And those are the ones that I probably at the end of the game will remember the most. The people like Sarah Reinerson finishing, the people you're close to, and when you see what they overcame and you saw it personally, and then they come on in, that's when it tugs at me.
Well, and it wasn't here about a year ago, but it was in Arizona. We got to call your son across the line.
Yeah, that was. People ask me, so they still do. What's your greatest? Who you the greatest one you ever called? Well, my son. I mean,
You mean that loser over there?
Yeah, I mean, he was 3 years old when I started in this game, and then all of a sudden see him coming at you with his mom and his sister waiting for him at the finish line. It was wow. So I actually. He called him an Ironman twice. I don't do that much. He
got double?
He got double.
Better pay a bigger entry fee next time. I love that. So, Dave, it's funny. We see it happen a lot. Life goes on, and sometimes we the trauma you went through, but you also had a pretty major scare in your personal life. Talk a little bit about that.
Well, those of us who are fit athletes think we're somewhat invincible. And we think that if we feel any kind of pain, it's a challenging pain, it's not a warning pain. And a year ago today,
really?
I was in the hospital, in Mass General Hospital, lying on an operating table, looking up at a monitor with my cardiologist pointing, saying, there. So he pointed out that I had a mess going on.
Like
blockage, plaque, narrowing of the arteries, 70%, 80%, 40%, multiple arteries. And a lot of it was genetics, but some of it was self-inflicted, because a lot of us who are fit, I guess we feel like, if the furnace is hot enough, it'll burn. Not that I was a junk food junkie, but I didn't make all the right choices, and I broke some rules. I didn't get enough rest, the stress. I always thought sleep was overrated. So I was breaking some rules, and I saw it on the monitor, and I vowed that day. I turned to my cardiologist, and I said, is this reversible? And he said, depends on the person. And I said, well, you're talking to him.
You're talking to that person.
And he said, you? Yes, it is. So over the last 12 months, I made a transformation. I changed everything. I lost 25 pounds, lowered my cholesterol level by 100 points, had another angiogram 3 weeks ago, and it showed that I reversed my severe coronary artery disease by 40%. And then, of course, I had a bike accident a month ago and broke a rib. So I got all kinds of things going on. So, I've been telling Mike, as far as I'm concerned, I'm just racing to get to the starting line versus racing to get to the finish line.
But one of the things, the interesting part for me is Ironman is part of our life at some point, and a lot of times it goes away, and then it has a tendency to come back. And for you, I'm sure it was great to have a goal that wasn't, you've run so many marathons.
Yeah.
You needed another goal that sort of brings you back to 1980.
I needed a magnet, a target.
Yes.
This race, no matter what happens on Saturday, it helped save my life because it gave me something to shoot for in terms of the training and the discipline. And so because of that, that's why I've been able to get healthy again. And the lesson I learned was just because you're fit doesn't mean you're healthy. And sometimes the most vulnerable people on this planet are fit people because they don't realize that they're in trouble.
Right.
I have a lot of friends who've gone out for a run one day
Not come back.
and not come back.
And so many times when you go in for your routine physical, they're going to say, you're fine, your body fat's okay, the rest of it. You didn't do a routine physical. You knew that there was something up.
Well, when I had the breathing problem, a year ago today, I went out for a run. I could only run 5 minutes and then have to walk. Run 5 minutes and then have to walk. A year ago today.
Yeah.
And, now I've done all these marathons and everything in between. But I had stress tests, echocardiograms. I had all kinds of tests.
Right.
Nothing. They didn't find anything. And then I said to my doctor, I know something's wrong with me.
You knew it.
You got to look under the hood. You got to give me the big boy tests. And if they didn't do an angiogram, I would never have known I'd had this.
You might not be here.
I might not be here.
Wow. Mike, when you have a close friend like this and you know he's going to be racing and you sort of have a sense, okay, sometime between 11 hours and 13 hours, Dave McGillivray is going to come across the line. Do you start thinking about that, or you're just so caught up in a moment because you got so many people to call across the line?
Yeah, I've got a list, in my head here in Kona, probably about 20, 25 that I can't wait for him to come on in, and then the top 5, which he's in, and I always, up in the tower, checking where everybody's at, see where they're coming in, and then being able to bring them in. It's interesting because if I look forward to someone, I always sense that I may not take care of love the one you're with. Take care of the one that's coming in at that time.
Yeah.
So it's all about that person coming down a Lee Drive and them getting everything they deserve I can throw their way. Yeah. So, but then when all of a sudden somebody else bought, hey, by the way, his race number, Dave McGillivray is coming down Palani. All right, baby, here we go.
Well, you don't have to worry about announcing me because I'll be coming in around Thanksgiving. So you'll be long gone.
My contract's only till midnight.
So no.
What else is interesting? This is the 25th anniversary of Iron War.
Yeah.
You represented Dave Scott, right, at one point. Mike was there calling. Was that your first year as the head guy?
Yeah.
So did you, it's not like you got GPS back then or chip mats or any of that type of stuff. Did you have a clue who was coming in first?
Yeah, we had spotters on the course.
Okay.
And when they were giving me, on the bike course, it was hard to get stuff.
Sure.
But on the run course, we had enough spotters calling on the radios. And they would start giving me splits. And I said, all right, go to the next mile and give me a split. And it might have been mile 9 to 10. And I go, no, you're wrong.
It's too fast.
They did not run a 5:52. It's not happening. No, I'm telling you, these guys are going that fast. And I said, are they with each other? They're shoulder to shoulder. And I said something to the crowd. I said, I think you could tie a 12-inch string from shoulder to shoulder and they wouldn't break it because they were stride for stride. Every spotter said, oh my gosh, they're step for step, stride for stride. So I go, well, this will be interesting if they come in to a photo finish. But then we heard, Mark broke him on Pay and Save Hill. And then when Allan came in, and Mark is not the most gregarious person in the world.
No.
Get him to smile sometimes.
Even emotions. You don't see a lot of emotions. Yeah.
And when he came down, I had never seen a smile on Mark Allen's face as long as I'd known him. And the look on his face. And so the crowd got to capture something nobody ever saw. All of us that knew him for years.
He was the Zen
Every
guy.
once in a while,
right?
he'd crack a dry joke, and then go back to the frown and start thinking about something else. But coming down Lee Drive, and you see the pictures of it, you go,
oh, he's
wow,
crying.
The
tears are coming. It took him
Mark Allan to cry.
Exactly. Actually, the one who was crying that day was Dave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because they were finishing and I was heading out.
You were
That's
heading
why.
out,
Yeah. So from working with Dave Scott over the years, I mean, the guy, he helped you out a little bit for this race, correct?
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about Dave and how intriguing a man he is.
Well, it's interesting. There's a lot of personal relationship there, and you may see a guy on the battlefield,
right,
and think they're invincible,
right,
think they're Superman, but deep down inside they have their emotional challenges too.
Absolutely.
And that's the level that we communicated on, not the athlete level, but the personal side.
Sure.
And that's something I saw that probably 99% of other people never got the opportunity.
That's sort of a gift, isn't it?
Yeah.
You get to see the real inside.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, the year you came up into the hot corner with me, it was 90.
Oh.
It was the Greg Welch year.
Yeah.
94.
94. And he comes to the hot corner when it was at the corner of Ali and Wallali. And Dave had gotten off the bike 12th? Yeah, like 12th place.
Right.
And he comes up and he goes, Dave got off in 12th. I go, yeah, that's what I heard. He goes, he will finish top 5. I go, come on. And then it wasn't 10 minutes later, or just as Dave passed us at the hot corner, now he was like in 9th place. He goes, he could win this race.
Yeah.
Because he saw he knew what Dave looked like. And Dave went by, I go, whoa, he's flying. I mean, I knew he was going to pass the next 4 or 5 guys.
Yeah, he did.
And he came
Got
12
to
seconds
11
behind, behind Greg and almost won at 40 years old.
Well, and the amazing part of that was he hadn't raced Ironman since '89.
I know.
Right?
I
And
know.
so remember when he rolled his bike in that day? He had his, the shifters were down on the frame. Everybody else had him at the end of the handlebars. They're like, oh my God, was this guy an antique? What the hell? He's not even going to be a factor. And the
Second
next thing
place.
you know, during a bike, he goes by Kenny Galah and Welch, and he's leading the race.
Right.
Somebody's like, the man is back. I love that. Well, we could talk Ironman all day long, but the cool thing is that Dave McGillivray is back racing and back healthy. We love that. Will he get a double Ironman call?
Maybe. Depends how he looks.
He might not hear it the first time. He might need it a second time.
Most of them don't.
It'll be Sister Madonna and I coming in shoulder to shoulder.
No.
You better take her down. Love that. Dave McGillivray, Mike Reilly, Poncho Man, come on down. Again, this is Breakfast from Kona. We're presented by Active, hashtag Inspired to Race. We're sponsored by Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro camera, 2-camera shoot. I love that. MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbyville Radio, and of course, Poncho Man.
Don't worry, it's Breakfast with Bob. So every little thing is gonna be alright. It's Breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man.
Hello, Thursday, baby. Ow!
Thank you, guys.
Great start of the day, brother.
day-yo. Here I come and me wanna go home. Day-yo, day-yo. Here I come and it's breakfast with Bob.
Welcome to Breakfast from Kona, presented by Active, hashtag inspired to race. My name is Bob Babbitt, and our sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, and for our people who are racing, you can take your GoPro down to the GoPro tents at the expo on Friday between 10 and 3, and they will have your GoPro ready for you at the hot corner as you come in to film yourself coming across the finish line. That's a pretty cool thing. We're also brought to you by MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio. Our next guest, 7th place last year, Mr. Tyler Butterfield. Tyler, how are you?
Yeah, good. Thanks for having me, Bob.
No, I love it. It's actually, use this thing. It helps a little bit.
I'm new to this, as you can tell.
Nah, veteran. So 7th place last year, and when I look at what you did in 14, Abu Dhabi, you win there, right? 3rd at France, but you're still, I see 8th at Hotalco World Cup. You're a 2-time Olympian, 2008, 2012. Are you thinking 2016?
Yeah, I've left the door open, which is why I had to do that World Cup in Huatuco, and it was really fun. I love the ITU racing. I'm suited to the Ironman,
yes,
and I love the Ironman. I'm passionate about it, but I also spent a lot of years doing the ITU, and I'm in a great situation from Bermuda where I can jump back and forth. There will come a point where I'll have to choose, especially like if I don't have a great race this year. Doing Huatuco and Calm Games might have interrupted that.
Sure.
We won't know till after the race, but yeah, for now I've left the door open. There's 3 World Cups in October, which I've missed out on to do this race, but fair enough. This is a World Championships and a worthwhile cause to miss them. But yeah, the Olympics and Kona are the 2 biggest races in triathlon that everyone knows. Like even going to the Olympics in 2012, people said, "Oh, you're a triathlete. Are you doing the Ironman in Kona?" I was like, "Yeah, I did that." So yeah, it's those 2 are the biggest for me, the biggest races where you can gauge yourself against the world, and that's what I like to do. I'm from a small country of Bermuda, 65,000 people. Winning isn't everything. I'd rather see where I stack up against the world, and it was nice last year to get 7th because I could sort of say, oh, for Ironman distance, I feel like I'm 7th in the world. Right. Even if I haven't won as many races, that's how I rank myself. And yeah, the World Championships are always a special day. Well,
and you were 7th, but you were in 4th with a couple miles to go.
Yeah, I never thought I'd be that high. I did a French interview a couple days before the race, and they said, who do you think will be the top 5? And I misunderstood them because it was in French, and I speak a little, but it's not perfect. And I thought they said, do you think you can be in the top 5? And in the interview, I said, no, there's no way this year I can be in the top 5. And then I'm running along in 4th like, wow. And I literally thought I had it. Coming out of the energy lab, it was like 2.5 minutes. I got a time gap. And I was like, yeah, if I run a 38, they got to run a 36. No way. I've got this sewn up. And halfway back, they
come storming by.
Literally storming by. Like someone said, you didn't even try, and people were yelling out, dig deeper. I was like, I've been digging for about 25 of the 26 miles. I've been hurting. It wasn't like the last 5 miles. It's
not like you're saving anything. It was a 140-mile race.
No.
If there was something there, you'd find it by that time.
Yeah, I wasn't saving anything. About mile 3 on the run, I thought, I got 23 more miles to run. How am I going to do this? And luckily, Chris Lieto was at mile 3, and I said, my back's killing me, because he was excited.
Right.
And he said, come on, Ty, you're doing great. And I was like, my back, I don't know how I'm going to finish. And he's like, it'll loosen up and just keep going. And at that point, it's true. You just got to think of anything positive.
Right.
Even if my back locked up and I didn't finish, take the hope. I know a lot of people don't want to use hope in a race, but I use a lot of hope before and after the race, or in the race.
So what's interesting to me is the battle for the top 3. Obviously, Freddie went 8:13, Luke was 8:15, Sebi was 8:19. But from James Conema to Timo Brock, you guys were basically separated 8:21, 8:22, 8:23. So you could see all those guys on the way out. Or on the way back, you must have been seeing everybody coming up.
Yeah, I mean, I really was just looking at James and T.O. And T.O. was actually ahead of James when in the energy lab.
Yeah.
And yet along a leaky, James was in front of T.O. So I thought T.O. was running faster and James had fallen back.
Right.
So I expected T.O. to come past, and I was trying to stay ahead of him. I mean, to be in the top 5 is pretty nice. Like there's a big jump. There's win, top 3, top 5, top 10. So that's where once I lost the top 5, when Ivan Rania came flying past as well, I was like, do I sprint? It literally was 200 meters before the finish, maybe 250, and I was like, I'm done. I'm out. But yeah, I mean, the top 3 were in a class of their own. Like you look, there's a big jump in time between Freddie, Luke, and Sebi were pretty close, and it was neat to see. And every year's different. Like I think we're gonna start to see more racing where there's a minute gap in between. Like in ITU, it's literally 2 or 3 seconds.
Exactly.
And Ironman's gonna be like that. You're not gonna get races where it's like the winner 5 minutes later. Exactly.
No.
They're gonna start to stack where. I said this year I could have a great race and be 15th.
No question.
Yeah.
This field's stacked. And what's interesting to me, you got Jan Frodeno comes from the Olympics, gold medal, right? Yourself, you've been on 2 Olympic teams. There's so many folks that are coming over from short course.
Yeah. Ivan Ranya's an ITU world champ. Bevan Docherty's an ITU world champ.
Gold, silver, and bronze.
Medal as well. Yeah.
Yes.
So I mean, it's and that's they're used to racing head to head. And yes, some days they're going to blow up, but these guys, they want to win.
They're not afraid to go for it. They're not going to play tactics where they're going to sit in on the bike like in the old days. A lot of guys sort of watched each other, got off, and ran. I mean, it's not like they were going slow, but it was, I think, a little more tactical. Now I think it still has to be tactical.
Yeah, I would say they come from a tactical background.
Yes.
So that's why they'll make a judgment call. And that's why I think it's going to get closer. Like you look at the 3 last year, they got away on the bike.
Right.
And then it was so close because you had the rest of the ones that did push the bike. We fell back on the run, and the ones that played a more tactical or a smarter race were running up, and you're always going to have that battle.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to see more and more finishes with a minute, and one day there will be a sprint for.
Down and let you drive.
Yeah,
no question
exactly.
about it.
Maybe not for the win, but for second or third, you're going to have a sprint finish, and eventually it'll in 10, 15 years there'll be one where they're diving over the line. It'll be a funny one to watch. I hope it's not me though.
We've seen it in other Ironman races. So what I love is doing a little research that I didn't realize that your dad raced here in 1981, and he finished 7th. You finished 7th. Losing a couple places from 4th to 7th is never fun, but you finished in the same place your dad did.
Yeah, it was pretty neat. Losing 4th and 5th was a little upsetting, but losing 6th, it literally did not bother me at all.
Did you know?
I knew. Like,
has your dad told you, dude, I finished 7th?
Yeah. Oh no, plenty of times before the race. I'm always like, he sort of gets a little upset. My mom thinks it's cool. I'm always like, one day I'd like to beat Dad, and he's like, why is it always a competition? Why do you always have to beat me, or you be right and me be wrong? And I'm like, that's just
father-son.
Exactly. That's just how it goes.
Didn't you read the book? That's the way it works. You always want to do that. But I love it. Your dad ran a 3:05, which outsplit Dave Scott from 1980, by the way. That was the fastest run of all, at that point, in 1981, 5 years into the race. That was the fastest run of all time. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's pretty neat. He also told me that, and that was back in the day when they used to weigh themselves as well. It was pretty neat hearing the story. Yeah, if you lost more than 5 pounds, they pulled you out of the race.
I know.
So you better stay hydrated, or else you're getting DQ'd for dehydration.
You do own him though in the swim and the bike. I think he went 127. You went 51, 5:58 to 4:30. So, but 2:58 back then, and. You run 2:58 and he runs 3:05. That's pretty cool. Yeah, that's pretty tight.
Yeah, we're pretty similar on the run. I mean, the first time I came here in 2010, I trained my swim and my run, and so I held back on the bike, just worried about that run. And what I've realized is my strength is running off a hard bike.
Right.
I'm not a pure runner, especially as more ITU people come over. When I first switched over, I was a runner.
Right.
In doing 70.3s.
Sure.
I ran quite well. But when I work my bike, my run does suffer. And in Ironman, it's a strength run. So I just sort of said, let me work my bike for a couple years. And yeah, it got me a good result last year. So I've stuck with the same format. It's hard to compare. I mean, they didn't have aero bars and
you own him. Come on, just admit it. But your mom, 2:38.44 at 84 Olympic trials, year after you were born. That is really impressive.
Yeah, I mean, my mom was a pretty handy runner. she was always better at the marathon than any other race. She never in a 10K broke 36.
Really?
But she could do it 4 times in a row to get a 2:38 marathon. Yeah, I mean, it's neat having parents to sort of look up to, and I think you see that with sort of like Luke McKenzie.
Yep.
His dad always took him around to the triathlons, and they were very within the sport growing up. And it makes a difference. You sort of have the passion and the history about it. You don't have to have that by any means, but it did help growing up with both my parents being very athletic.
So what are your goals here?
Top 10 again. I'm pretty realistic. I think that's a realistic goal. I mean, last year I did it, so why not chase this sort of the same goal? And everyone's like, well, don't you want to go better? And it's like, yeah, of course I want to go better, but I could have a better day than last year. I could race a better performance.
And be further back.
Exactly.
You could go, depending on the conditions, and the main thing we talk about all the time at this race, it's the wind and the heat are one thing, but the level of competition is something you don't see anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the conditions change, but the competition doesn't.
Yeah.
Competition's always hard. You can have, I mean, the conditions are always hard here, but you can have them harder some years and not as hard the other years. But yeah, the competition is always tough.
Your little daughter just went by. Hey, listen, I think she's going, hey, this is my place, and Dad's just doing some dumb interview thing.
I'm surprised she didn't come around and start climbing up and say, I want to be on TV. She definitely knows when the cameras are around.
What I love about your background, and I think there's very few guys, and once people make the move from short course to long course, they make the move. They're not continuing to do World Cups. How do you do World Cups when you're coming off of longer training and knowing the guys you're racing against are going short all the time? That's tough.
So in an ITU race, I always say I race like an Ironman. Just as soon as a gun goes off, I'm on max all day.
Right.
And in the Ironmans, I actually race like an ITU race. Like I'm tactical. You have to make decisions. You generally aim for a good swim, and then the further up you swim, you can start to make choices. If you're in that lead pack, especially here where there is a large pack, you can decide, do I push it? Do I hold back? Do I wait for the run? And that's a luxury in ITU I don't have. Like, I'm not a great swimmer for Ironman standards, and for ITU standards, it's sort of like, well, how far down will he be? Like London Olympics, I had the fastest bike split, and someone said, oh, that's pretty awesome. I said, it just meant I had one of the slowest swims, and you have to catch up.
Easy to find your bike, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like it's maybe
compare the ITU style of racing, and not just ITU style of racing, but the Olympics, going to the Olympics. What was that experience like in 08, the first time you went?
Yeah, I mean, so the biggest thing is, for me, is I don't really like pressure, but there's no pressure at the Olympics because I'm not.
People aren't expecting you to win.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not even a top 10. Like if I could scrape into the top 20, I'd probably be pretty stoked. So there's not much pressure, but it is the Olympics. So you know there's a lot of people watching live TV, and I always say to myself, it's not an Ironman. Right. So relax a little. I didn't say that the first time, but in 2012 when I went, I said, this isn't an Ironman. And literally at the start of this race in last year and 2010 when I did it, I said, it's not the Olympics. So I just tricked myself into saying, well, this isn't as much pressure as the Olympics. And in Kona, and in the Olympics, I say, well, this isn't Kona. So it's just tricking yourself to take the pressure off. Some people race well with the pressure, with their back against the wall. I'm not one of those people. I literally want to go out and enjoy it. And it's sort of, people are like, how do you enjoy it? It's like, well, yes, I suffered in the marathon, but it's still enjoyable. It's an enjoyable pain. It's an enjoyable suffering. So yeah, it's just tricking yourself. I mean, after this race, I'll really have to see whether Rio's
realistic
and possible. I definitely don't chase as many points as I should. I'm not chasing points for 2 years. It's just not. It's not feasible. It's not professional for my career.
Not cost effective.
Yeah, exactly. And you have to say that. Like, I'm passionate about triathlon, but you have to mix it between passion and your job. I still want my kids to be happy and buy them toys and get them to travel around. But yeah, it's a great privilege to be able to have gone to 2 Olympics and to do Kona. In 2010, I couldn't fully commit to my bike training because I knew I was going back to London.
Right.
Since then, I committed to my bike training, and it's gotten better.
You've seen better.
Yeah.
So for our folks who you've had a chance to race Jan Frodeno and Bevan Docherty and those type of guys at the ITU races. They're coming here now, and they have been coming here, but for the first time we're going to see Jan Frodeno. What do you expect to see from him?
Yeah, I mean, I got him and Freddie. I got them picked for the win. Those are my two favorites.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say I really raced them in ITU racing. I was in the race, but I wasn't racing them. And that's always my goal is to try and be at the point of race. The only person I really raced in ITU was Terenzo in Junior Worlds.
Yes.
We once sort of had a sprint finish. He beat me, unfortunately.
There you go.
That was the closest I ever got to a world champs is a junior, so as low as you can get. But I got bronze there, and David Haas, a French guy, got silver. He got fourth at the Olympics, so it was nice to be in good company. But those guys know how to race neck and neck. I've never been suited to that style of racing, but I think for young kids growing up, even if it doesn't suit you, it's worth doing for a few years. It makes you a better athlete.
It's like if you were in the marathon, you better be running fast 5Ks and 10Ks.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
got to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Tyler, thanks so much for taking time.
Thanks for having me.
Love that, bud. Tyler Butterfield has been our guest. Again, this is Breakfast from Kona. My name is Bob Babbitt. We are presented by Active, #Inspired to Race, and brought to you by Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio, and of course, taking us out is Poncho Man.
Work at night with a drink of rum. Daylight come and we wanna go home. Daylight come and it's breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man. Thank you, buddy.
Welcome, my brother.
Yee-hee. Thank you, sir.
It's Aloha Thursday. And good morning from Kona town. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man, bringing it this morning. Welcome to Breakfast from Kona, presented by Active, #Inspired to Race. My name is Bob Babbitt, and our sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, and Babbittville Radio. A Timex athlete joins us, Richie Cunningham. Richie, how are you?
Great, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
Love having you, man. It's great to connect. We really have not chatted that much over the years, and you've been racing. When did you get into this stuff?
Wow, a long time ago. Late 90s.
Late 90s.
Yeah.
And did you start out, was it the Olympics? Was that the draw?
Actually, well, I probably started early 90s in the casual scene, age group stuff back in Melbourne.
More the non-drafting, Olympic distance.
Just sprint even in that
sprint,
stage.
Yeah.
It was just when it was sort of growing in Australia, and then sort of, I did Olympic for a long time in Germany and Europe.
How did it change things when Welchie won the Ironman in '94? Did that all of a sudden every Aussie kid wanted to be a triathlete?
I guess so. I mean, it was still very popular at the time. You know, Welchie had been around still for a while. And
and Bevan
and
all
Miles
those,
Stewart doing all those the Grand Prix sprint races. So everybody knew them, but I guess it was kind of a big deal for Australia without Welchie winning that one.
Right. So was there one race where you realized, you know what, this is more than just a hobby, that I could be good at this?
I don't know. I guess I've always sort of done sport, and actually, I did those sprint races early on, and then I actually took 4 or 5 years out because I joined the military.
Oh, okay.
And really young, I was just turned 17 and kind of heading in a bad direction at school. So it was like the next best option. And
military can save you.
Yeah, it did. It
gives you discipline.
Saved me. Yeah, I mean, I would have headed out in the wrong bad way, I guess. And and then I started in the military. They kind of were just starting to, triathlon was still new then, and for their sport options, they actually had it. So I did it for a little while and kind of tweaked my interest again and got back into it. And then when I finally got out, I did a couple of age group races and I had a bit of success, and I'm like, I think I want to do this a little further. And I looked up some coaches and found Cole Stewart.
Yes, Miles' dad.
Miles' dad, and I rang him up and I basically said I'm coming, and I packed up the car with my
Went to the Gold Coast?
Yeah, and just drove straight to the Gold Coast and unloaded, and that was it, I guess. Yeah.
And working with a coach, like a real coach for the first time, did you see rapid improvement?
Oh yeah, I mean, especially at that time, because there was,
you were so raw, right?
I was raw, and there was probably 10 of the top 15 ITU guys in the world: Miles Stewart, Chris Hill.
They're all living there.
Macca,
Robo,
everybody was training with him, and it was just like, you either had to get good real quick, or you didn't keep up, and you're sort of riding on your own. So it was a quick school lesson.
So the hard part about being from Australia, when you do go pro and go to Europe or go to the U.S., it's not like a small commitment, because you can't fly back and forth. You can, but nobody has the money to do it.
Yeah,
how tough was that, making that, starting to travel the world and being away from home? Because you're still, you're a little older because you got out of the military, but it's still a pretty risky.
It was a big commitment, and I think I only was one season with Cole Stewart, and I was already getting itchy feet because I saw everybody else doing it.
Yeah.
And Lothar Leder actually came and trained with us for that season, and he kind of roped me in to go over there, and
go to Europe?
And he set me up with a German club, and I think by the time I'd paid for my ticket and everything else, I actually got to Germany with $300 in my pocket, and that was
total.
It.
That was it.
And then it's like, you learn to race or you learn to starve.
Well, that's the thing. What people don't understand is you're basically racing to pay rent.
Oh, exactly. I think my record at one point was like 18 races in 14 weeks or something like that. Like
really?
Saturday, Sunday, and then you get in the car and you drive to the next race the next weekend. Because if you didn't pay rent. You didn't have enough money for the ticket back or pay your credit card for the next year. So it was school of hard knocks, I guess, at the start. But it's certainly, I'm grateful for it now.
Was there a camaraderie among you guys with Macca and the rest of you guys traveling like that? Macca was telling me that you'd race on Friday in France and then take a train over to Sweden or Switzerland and race on the next day. But you'd take the slow train so you wouldn't have to get a hotel room and you could stay in the train. And
yeah, he's done exactly what I did, but he was a little more successful, I think. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly, you ran into a lot of your mates there, and especially back then, a lot of Australians went there to learn, I guess, in Australia, you learn how to do triathlon there, you sort of really honed your skills and, put it to good use and make some money. But there were so many races in Europe, you didn't always see everywhere. You didn't really want to see any.
You want to go where they weren't.
I didn't want to go to where Macca was back then, no, for sure.
You want to go where, So I look at 2014, third at Boulder 70.3, second at Ironman Boulder, Muskoka, you won there, and you first at Galveston 70.3. So you've had a really good season. Yeah,
I can't complain. Everything's progressed nicely this year, and I guess it's a similar year I've had most years, except for last year towards the end.
You had a bike crash when you got hit by a car
with the car accident. But I came back towards the end of the year and still had finished it off fairly well. Was this a goal for last year, getting here? The crash actually made this decision for me, because it was in early July, and I was sitting on the couch with my arm in a cast and kind of feeling sorry for myself, and then they introduced I'd heard rumours that the Boulder Ironman was coming to town, and it's pretty awesome to race in your hometown, and the bike literally goes past my back door twice.
Really?
So, and I live a mile from the res where the swim is, and it just seemed like a fit. And I did Ironman Arizona about 6-7 years ago, and I hated it. And I was like, I'm not doing another one. And, it took me, 6-7 years to flip that around and actually get motivated. And, so once I committed to it, and, that was, I guess, the goal. I said, if I do that, I might as well do this. So, got to try it once.
So first time over, what are your thoughts on how long you've been in town?
I got in last Wednesday. So
okay, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good. What's been your impression of this place so far?
It's pretty epic, it's... I guess just hanging out with all the the pros as my mates, you hear all the stories, and I guess you get a little jealous each year when everyone comes over here, because of the epic stories everybody tells, and everybody this year, all my friends are all out of town, and I was like, no, I want to be in amongst it. This is what it's about, and you
don't want to be, if you're coming here, it's like going to the Olympics. You want to be in the village, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even when Worlds was on in Clearwater, you sort of went into Clearwater over that bridge, and you saw all the age groupers running up and down the road in their suits and their socks, and as dorky as it is, it's what it
special,
is. It's part of what triathlon is, and it gets you in the mood and puts you in the right frame of mind for racing.
They're not just any dorks, there are dorks.
Oh, there's a lot of dorks.
We are dorks.
We're all dorks.
We're all dorks, exactly. Yeah. So you mentioned the crash, July 4th, 2013, road rage driver, and you've been in the sport for a while. Was there a point you thought your career might be over?
No. I'd 2 years before that, I actually crashed and broke my hip in Wiesbaden in Germany.
Yeah.
And I think that was a little more frightening, because it's such a...
The hip is...
it's like, man, if I can't run and ride, that's really the end of the game. So
sure.
I saw a lot of specialists with my arm, and, everything seemed good, and, I did the right things, and learning from my hip, you take the right precautions and you do the right recovery, and, you can get back. And I guess luckily I'm pretty resilient, so I've been all my life hardly, very few injuries, and I took my time and I came back, and things are good.
So September 8th, you win at Muskoka, a 4:06, 1:17 run. That must make you feel. I mean, it's basically a month out. That I know that Muskoka was always a race Crowe used and Rinne used as a sort of a measuring stick.
Yeah,
where are they at?
Exactly.
What were your thoughts after that?
Well, I was still a little tired from Boulder at that point. It was just, luckily everybody was at the World Championships. So I won't lie, it was a bit of a cherry
They call it a cherry pick, yeah.
I mean, it wasn't the easiest race. There's a couple of solid little kids there that, gave me a run for my money.
Well, it's not an easy run. No, I know that Crowe always used that as a measuring stick for where his running was at a month out from Kona.
And I'll take the tradition there. If you win in Muskoka, you win here.
So right.
I'll take that.
What are your goals here? First time out.
I guess this just being my third Ironman, so I don't know. I'm going to go hard, and I'm fit and ready and
healthy.
And healthy, so...
Because that's really the number one thing here. So many times we don't know with an athlete where they're at.
And I think this race burns people out before they get here.
Right.
From what I've seen, and more so than the actual race itself. And, you know, I've been relaxed and I'm calm and, you know, I'm looking forward to it. So, I mean, ultimately, everyone wants to go top 10, you know.
Right.
Well, one, that's where the prize money is, so
exactly.
that in itself. But, you know, top 10 would be fantastic. Top 15 even would be pretty cool. But, you know, I'll be certainly shooting for where the big boys are.
Where do you live and train now?
Boulder.
Okay, in Boulder.
Yeah.
So you get to train with all the boys? Or are you more of a guy who just like has one or two people you train with?
Yeah, we keep it very select. Most of my training's with Ben Hoffman.
Yeah.
Jump in with Chris Lee a little bit.
Yes.
You know, when we really need to do something hard.
Yeah. He can go hard.
He can go really hard.
Yeah.
You know, and I swim at the pool, and everybody's there at some point. You know, during the week, you see everybody at some point, and just keep it quiet and easy.
Love that.
You stay out of the boulder bubble, as they call it.
The boulder bubble.
Yeah.
You got to stay out of that.
Yeah.
So, Richie, you've been in the sport for how long now?
Wow.
As a pro?
As a pro, 15, 16 years.
15, 16 years. Does it get old?
No.
You still love it?
Love it. Yep.
I mean, looking back, did you ever think, oh my God, I'm going to make a living doing what I love?
At the beginning, no, because it was very tough. But, you know, now I've started to make a good living. And it's sort of only really come the last sort of 5 years where things have settled down and you're able to actually really, you know, make some good money with some good sponsors and stuff like that. So, you know, I still enjoy it so much that I don't even contemplate retiring. And especially now that I'm training with all the young guys, I'm the butt of all their jokes.
They make fun of you.
So, yeah.
You mean Sir Richie?
Sir Richie, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Richie, thanks so much for coming on.
Absolutely.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for
It's
having
really
me.
nice to get to know you a little bit.
Excellent.
Have a great race on Saturday.
Thank you.
Richie Cunningham has been our guest again. This is Breakfast from Kona, presented by Active, #Inspired to Race. My name is Bob Babbitt. Our sponsors are Timex and Richie, Timex athlete. He's going to go out there and kick butt on Saturday. Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, and Babbittville Radio. Poncho Man, take us out.
It's Aloha Thursday. Good morning from Kona Town. It's breakfast with Bob. It's breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man. Thank you, buddy. Woo.
One more day till Aloha Friday.
Thank you, Richie.
No worries, man.
Last night in my dreams, I held you in my arms on a white sandy beach of Hawaii. On a white sandy beach, and breakfast with Bob and Paul and the conch guy.
Thank you, Pancho Man. Thank you, Michael, for that really feeble conch blow. That was
My
great.
man.
Way to go. What was that, Huddle? A mule?
Michael Malahi. No, yeah, it was a braying donkey.
A braying donkey. This is Breakfast from Kona. My name is Bob Babbitt. His name is Paul Huddle, who got back from the Babbittville.com world record underpants run.
Yes.
I certified it.
2,800 knuckleheads, and I think we raised a 10 grand past last year, so I think we're around 40 grand.
$40,000.
Yeah, I believe so, yeah.
That is so cool.
Yep.
We are presented by Active, inspired to race, which people wore this morning in their underpants.
Very much so.
And we are sponsored by Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio. Most importantly,
yes.
this is the only, I don't care about the people winning the race. It means nothing to me.
Also, speaking of the underpants
Yes.
run, because these two knuckleheads were part of
Were you part of it?
Oh, yeah.
Allan Pitman, Karlie Jennings. How are you both doing today? Allan?
I'm good. I'm
Good.
ready to go.
So, Allan, we'll start here. This is your 40th Ironman.
It is.
16th time here?
Yes.
16th time for Kona. When did you get into triathlon?
I was about 38,
Yeah.
and two of my kids were good swimmers and good cross-country runners. And their coach suggested they do a little triathlon, so I thought I'll train along with them. And they've given it away a long time ago.
But all of a sudden, you're 66 years old and you're still doing it.
Oh, yeah.
You're
love that.
66 years old?
Yeah.
That's right.
66. I don't know.
Wow.
Yeah.
We should all look so good.
So you were here. You took the family on a trip to Disneyland, and in '85,
Yes.
came over here,
Yes.
which is nowhere near on the way. I mean, you went to Disneyland first.
Yes.
Then came over here to watch the Ironman.
it's from Australia. The geography thing is not real.
Doesn't really
yeah,
matter.
Yeah.
Greg Stewart. I think it was Greg Stewart.
Greg
right.
Stewart, yeah.
Greg Stewart, Aussie.
Yep, third.
Was coming in, I think 15th or something.
Oh, no, third.
Third, Bob.
In
Greg Stewart.
'85?
Yeah, I believe
Yes,
so.
yes.
I
Yep.
don't think so. But anyways,
We're going to have that argument
we have that
later.
book right there. But somebody gave him an Aussie flag to run across the line with.
That was Maria, Karlie's mum,
Karlie's mom.
standing in the crowd with me. She was only 15 or 16 at the
Yeah.
time. And somebody said, here's the first Aussie. So she ducked under the fence and handed him the flag. And the audience cheered him all the way down.
That's so cool.
Yeah, that year, Scott Tinley won.
Yes?
Yes,
And,
exactly.
Greg got a greater applause running down with the Aussie flag than what Tinley did winning it.
Well, no Aussie had won up until then.
Who's going to applaud Tinley anyway?
No, we don't
Seriously.
care about
yeah.
him.
Yeah.
So your granddaughter Karlie, it's over to Karlie. So Karlie, talk a little bit about when you got into triathlon. You can grab the microphone. You need him to hold for you.
So I got into triathlon, I think it was 2 years ago now. I started off just running for fitness again, trying to get my fitness back.
But your mom had been into triathlon a little bit.
Yeah, but
You didn't care
when
about
she
that.
was into it, I was really,
Yeah.
really young.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I didn't really know. But I got into, started running again, started enjoying it, and then did a half marathon. And then after I finished that, I went into triathlon. And
So
Haven't looked back.
who was the big influence? Was it this guy?
I've kind of, growing up, I was good friends, family friends with Loretta Harrop.
Okay.
So it was always something that stood out to me the most, and I always wanted to give it a go because I always did swimming and running at school, and I was quite good at it. So then I just thought, why not? This is a good opportunity to give it a go, and I've got someone to help me.
Well, there's a triathlon in Australia. It's Hell of the West?
Yes.
Is that what it's called?
Yes.
Here, you can grab this thing again. So Hell of the West triathlon, you've done that how many times?
I've done it 21 times.
And you've won your age group how many times?
21 times.
21 times, okay. And so when Karlie decided to get in the triathlon, did you get her to Hell of the West?
Well, after her half marathon, she thought she'd like to have a go at a triathlon, so I suggested the Hell of the West.
Yes.
Because it was a big, scary goal. It's a long course race. in conditions similar to Kona.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I thought if it was a big scary goal, it would scare her into training for it.
She might actually do some training.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And
Karlie has achieved most of her achievements up to that date on natural talent.
Yeah.
But once you get into a long course, you really have to do some training.
that training stuff is sort of a pain.
So what he's saying is that you don't really do a whole lot of training until this point.
Well, it was up until I qualified for Kona that I really got serious about it. But I had trained up through it, but it was harder to drag myself
trained.
out of bed than it is now.
No?
So did you do that Hell of the West?
Yes, I did do it.
And how'd you do?
So I won my age group. The only one
what a
in there,
surprise.
but
Yes.
yeah, I was
Yeah.
happy with the time and everything.
But you've only got one win so far.
Yeah.
No.
He's got 21. You got a ways to go.
I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So then Port Macquarie.
Yes.
That's
yeah.
qualifier for Kona.
Yeah.
And you both go there and both win your divisions
Yep.
by substantial margin, I think, over an hour or
Yeah,
something like
over
that?
an hour. Yep.
Over an hour. And are you 21 now, Karlie?
Yes. I turned 21 just before I came over.
Oh, so you just had a birthday.
Yeah.
Nice. So you guys will probably be the first granddaughter to race here, I'm assuming, right?
Yep.
How cool is that? Is it pretty fun to have a grandfather who's in shape like that and
It is
still
pretty
loving
special. It's good because we are a bit competitive amongst ourselves, and on
Really?
race day, I think he keeps an eye out on me more than anyone, and tries to catch me or tries to not let me catch him. So.
So who's better at what? How's this race going to
Oh,
develop?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
we're going to
yeah,
be
yeah.
watching this thing. So
That's we're not going to watch the leaders. We're going to have
swim,
the thing.
no, this is going to be the
tracker.
Karlie Allan cam. Yeah,
Exactly.
for sure. So when the gun goes off in the swim, who's pretty much got the advantage there? Is when
Me.
Yeah.
Oh, and you're not? Are you going to argue this point?
Well, I get a 10-minute start this year.
Ah.
Start 10
So you
minutes
might
in
be
front of me.
together coming out of the water.
What is the typical? How much difference is there going to be out of the water? Do you think?
Well, at Port Macquarie, I did a 67-minute swim.
Yeah.
And Karlie did a 54-minute swim.
So you guys are going to come out together.
She's going to beat you like a snare drum.
Oh, yeah.
Did you guys?
I do fear
have
that.
wetsuits?
I do fear that I might get chicked in the swim.
So wait, you got wetsuits at Port Macquarie?
Yes.
She's going to stomp all over you, my friend. There's no wetsuits here. Yikes. Okay.
So
Karlie's
yeah.
got a 5-minute lead, which really translates to 15 right now out of the water. We're on to the bike, all right? So you're only 5 back in terms of real person,
Seeing her,
but you're
yes.
15 minutes back in reality. So you're going to have to drill her
Already.
on the bike, right?
Yeah, it's already losing. Yeah.
So are you going for it on the bike? You're going to have to pull a Norman Stadler to get to the front?
Well, the instructions I've given Karlie that work very well at Port Macquarie was to go 90% all day.
Right.
And giving her that instruction, I have to do that too. I
course.
can't go giving 100% trying to catch
Right.
her.
Sure.
Because I'll pay later.
Yeah. But you're naturally better than her on the bike, right?
No,
At
our recent time trials, she has put in better times over 100 kilometres.
So has having Karlie out there for his last number of months training and racing, has that pushed you?
Well, to be honest, after more than 38 Ironmans, I have got a little casual at it and done less training than I really could have. But having Karlie train along for this one, I have trained more conscientiously. I've got to set an example.
And you don't want to get beat.
Oh, well, that's right.
So at Port Macquarie, basically, you went 11:15:47, which is pretty darn good for 66 years old.
Yeah.
Karlie went 11:05:38. We're talking 10 minutes. I think they call that granddaughtering, not chicked.
Yes.
Granddaughter.
Hang on, though. We're talking about Kona.
Yeah.
We're talking about experience. We're
Yes.
talking about, this is your 16th?
Yes.
15 times prior, and it probably knows every wind ever to hit a person on this course.
Best time 10:20 when he was 51.
You know what? Don't get cocky, sister. This is called wisdom right here. All right,
Yeah,
this is called a veteran. So obviously you're going to probably try and get her at some point on the bike. She's only got maybe 3 to 5 minutes on you. You probably roll up on her, and then roll away from her and just good luck to you, and hope you can catch me on the run, but probably not.
Who knows? It's you can't really write a script for Kona.
No.
It unravels the way it's going to unravel.
Yeah.
But the saying that comes to mind is experience is what you get just after you needed it.
That's a great one.
That is a really
that is so
good
true.
line. Wow. I
and-
like that. I'm going to use that.
And
That's mine now.
this is a good place to get experience.
You
Yes,
think?
it is.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it is. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so Karlie, are you 90% all day long? Have you guys ridden the course much? What are your feelings on this place so far?
Well, I love it here. I mean, it's a pretty cool place.
Yeah.
We have rode the course, but it was pretty mild conditions, so I haven't really experienced the winds as of yet, but I'm ready to just deal with it when it comes.
What do your friends think? You're 21 years old, everybody's out partying and having fun, and you're out sweating with your grandfather riding out in the middle of nowhere.
Well, at first they were a bit like, oh, come on, can't you come out? But now they know that I'm serious about it, and they know it's me. And I've always been into the sporty one at school, so they kind of support me now, which is good.
Do you see yourself going pro or something?
I would like to.
Yeah.
It is a goal, and it's a dream I've had for a long time. So see what I got and work hard for it, I suppose.
So a couple years, Huddle, she'll be sitting here with us with all these sponsor logos.
That's
on,
right.
Grandfather who, I can't remember who that guy was.
Exactly.
Some old guy used to help me out a little bit.
So at the age of 21, do you have, I mean, I'm sure you've been taught to respect your elders, but you're not going to have any concept of how it feels to be this guy's age. Do you have any sort of empathy and like, got to let Granddad have a little bit of, have his day. Just don't just, stomp all over him. He kind of helped me get here and everything. Do you have any of that, or is it pretty much like you're going down?
Yeah, you're going down.
Okay.
He's not a soft grandpa like most people, and he gives it to me just as much as I'll give it to him. So if I get the opportunity, I definitely will be.
I love that. What do you have to say about that?
Take the microphone.
Well, one of the things that impressed me with Karlie in her first couple of races, the long course at Gundawindi and the Port Macquarie race, was she has the killer instinct. And I've coached hundreds of Ironman athletes and more than 70 Hawaii qualifiers. Yeah. And I can usually recognise in their first one or two races if they've got that killer instinct, and you can't train it. It's in there.
You either have it or you don't.
Yeah.
I think having Grandpa in there is going to be a little bit of extra incentive.
Extra killing is always good.
Yeah. I can see myself like one of those squashed mongooses on the side of the road.
So who's the family pulling for? If they have bets going here? We have a little betting pool on grandfather or granddaughter?
No, we don't have any bets going.
We should.
I think we should.
Yeah.
Maybe our audience will come up with a little bet here. Let's create a pool.
But yeah, I don't know. I think they're just hoping the best for both of us and hope we do a good race together, I suppose. So
who's better in heat?
Well, he's got more experience in it. Yeah.
So I don't know how I go in heat. So.
Bob, let's go ahead, you and I.
Yes.
Let's pick one here. I'm going with Grandpa. I mean, Granddad's got
I'm going Karlie.
Oh, you're such
I'm going
an
Karlie.
idiot.
I'm going
you have no idea
Karlie.
what you're talking about.
I got $10.
Inexperience.
Says Karlie
$10?
Karlie will take the old guy down. No question.
$10. Shake. Shake.
11.15. You got it.
$10.
Love it.
All right.
Thanks, you guys, for coming on. And Karlie, you better crunch this guy.
Karlie, it's all about pacing. Really take it easy.
He will crumble like a cookie when you go by him, for sure. This is Breakfast from Kona. Our guests, Allan and Karlie. Have a great race, you guys.
Thank you.
Poncho Man, come on back in here. My name is Bob Babbitt. His name is Paul Huddle. We are presented by Active, #Inspired to Race. Sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio. Poncho Man, take us out.
On a wide, sandy beach of Hawaii. On a wide, sandy beach. Breakfast with Bob and Paul.
Thank you, Poncho Man.
All right.
You want to give me the $10 now?
We're gonna swim, bike and run to Kona town. We're gonna swim, bike and run to Kona town. And breakfast with Bob and Paul. Breakfast with Bob and Paul. Breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Welcome again to Breakfast from Kona. My name is Bob Babbitt. His name is Paul Huddle. We are presented by Active, hashtag Inspired to Race. Our sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, and Babbittville Radio. Our next guest, Huddle.
Yes, Bob.
Two-time Olympic medalist.
Twice.
I don't think there's very many people who've won.
Silver and bronze. What have you got?
Silver
04,
and
08?
bronze.
Yeah.
Silver and bronze. And he could have had a gold, but he's
if
like, hey,
he
you know
wanted
what?
to. If he wanted
I had
to.
a gold.
Oh,
Give it to
come
the
on.
countrymen. You know.
got to share.
Yes.
No, Hamish needed the gold more than you did.
Yeah.
Come on, you know that.
New Zealand needed the gold, but it could have been the other way around.
I love that. I love that. Bevan Docherty joins us. So, Bevan, you had an opportunity to come to this race last year, and I know it didn't go the way you wanted it to. Nutrition, and we've talked about that. At the end of the day, a lot of times this race is an eating and drinking contest, figuring out what works and what doesn't.
Yeah, actually last year I was my own worst enemy, to be honest. The race itself didn't really put me off too much.
Yeah.
Just screwed the nutrition up. I mean, a lot of people always say, you know, nutrition is key, and I guess I just thought that more is better, and just tried to jam too much down the system, and eventually, you know, nothing was going through, and the body just started shutting down. But you know, sometimes you learn more from your mistakes. I guess that's probably what my issue was after winning New Zealand Ironman. You know,
And breaking the course record in your first Ironman.
Yeah, you know, everything went really well then, and I just kind of thought, geez, this
isn't as tough as I thought.
It's not as hard as everybody's saying, and you know, whereas if a few things had gone wrong in that race, maybe I sort of would have learned a bit more about it. But that said, I wasn't 100% sure what went wrong last year, and you know, it was one of 5 things. Kind of narrowed it down. Had the same issues Ironman New Zealand. Sort of narrowed it right down to just oversaturation, and then you know, started working with Osmo and Stacey Sims, and we sorted things out and ended up winning Ironman Texas. So
and no nutrition problems at Ironman Texas?
No, not really. So I think I'm on top of things, but that said, I guess we'll see in the weekend.
One of the things that really struck us last year was how close to the race you arrived. I think it was Wednesday before the race, or was it Thursday?
I think it was Tuesday. It wasn't that. I don't, you know.
You didn't consider it early. In retrospect, did you come in earlier this time, or same deal?
I came in a day earlier.
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
You know, I'm taking this race seriously.
So you came in on Monday.
I came in on Monday. You know, I live in Santa Cruz, California, so it's you know, a direct hop across. And as far as time difference goes, it's actually to my advantage. You're waking up earlier. You know, I'm comfortable at home. I've been able to find some good heat there. You know, anyone that's lived in the Bay Area knows that this is our summer right now. So you know, we had some amazing weather, and I'm just comfortable coming in. So you know, as long as my kids don't get sick, then you know, I'm happy to stay around home.
I love that. So Bevan, when you look back and silver in 2004 and bronze in 2008, and what people forget is you also went to 12th in 2012. You came on.
Yeah, there was a bit of a trend, you know, but unfortunately the trend was going exponentially downhill.
Yeah, but when you're running an ITU race, you've done the World Championships, you can finish 12th and be running a 30 flat 10K off the bike, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was fairly happy with that 12th at London. I mean, given my circumstances, obviously my age, but you know, I'm a family man now, and to to get an Olympic medal, you have to make so many sacrifices, and I just wasn't willing to make those sacrifices. I wasn't willing to spend months on end away from my family.
Chasing points and all that.
Chasing points. That said, I mean, realistically, for me to crack the top 5, you know, there's so much talent there, it would have taken a lot. So, you know, 5th or 12th, at the end of the day, with the Olympics, there's only 3 people that walk away happy, and those are the ones with medals. So, yeah.
So much has been made of the difference in speed of those Olympic distance ITU-style athletes versus the Ironman athletes. Now that you're over here on the Ironman side, maybe at the time when you were at the top of your game on the ITU side thinking, wow, those guys, they may go a long time, but they go really slow. I mean, relatively speaking, right? Yeah. Now that you're here, how does it feel? What are the differences? Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, I mean, it's such a different sport, and it's very hard to compare the two. You know, it's still swim, bike, and run, but there's so many different elements to it. You know, you still need to be a good athlete, and you still need, you know, the top 6 up there to be a good athlete, and I think you can translate that. But you know, it's anything in the sport of triathlon, it just takes time, and you got to do your time in the sport. So you got to be patient. You spend more time in this, but I sort of thought the grass was a little bit greener on this side. But you know, you still have to work hard and stay focused.
Yeah. Well, and especially you go from I need to go to Gamagori and places like that to chase points. Now you still have to chase points, right? You still have to get here where the big dollars are. Yeah. You've got to travel the world. As a family guy, that's still tough.
Yeah, it is, and you know, long distance racing is probably more suited to my lifestyle now. You know, I don't have to travel around the world, and you know, being based out of North America, I can go and chase those points without sacrificing too much family time. So, you know, I'm very happy. Long distance racing is far more relaxed. You're standing on the start line, chatting with your mates. You know, I'm really enjoying this time.
So you didn't do that at the Olympics? We'd like to, hey, Alistair, what's going on? Javier, you're looking good, baby.
You got a Brit here and a Russian here, and I just want to beat the crap out of you.
So as you look at this race and you look at the field, and it's the same thing every year, there's, I don't know, a dozen guys at least, probably more, that you feel like can be in that top 3. Does anyone concern you, or is this a case of you taking on the course on your own terms and letting the cards fall, and that's how it goes? Or do you pay attention to the other guys?
Oh, you certainly have to pay attention to guys, but you know, at the end of the day, it's all about controlling the controllables and just not worrying about the uncontrollables. So, you know, I've done everything I can to get myself in the best shape, so I try not to worry about the other competitors too much. But that said, out on race day, you still have to keep an eye on certain key players and make sure that you go with that move, or you just, you know, let Starkey go up the road and
don't worry about him.
So who are those key players that you're going to look at? Who are the people, if they make a move, you're going to take it seriously?
Like you say, you know, is any one of 12, 15, 20 guys.
Yeah.
You know, they're on the radar, but it's very hard to sort of pinpoint one person.
Right.
The nice thing is seeing the guys come over, like yourself from ITU, having a Jan Frodeno, and hopefully down the line Javier coming over and doing this.
Hopefully not too soon.
Good point.
How does it change the game, having, you know, bring you guys coming in? Because I'm sure a lot of the Ironman folks, the guys who've been doing this for a while, look at it and go, oh my God, these guys are sub 30-minute 10K guys. And at the end of the day, a lot of times these races come down to the run.
Yeah, it is changing the game a lot. I mean, I personally feel it's turning more into a race as opposed to an individual race. You know,
more tactical.
You know, it's a non-drafting race, but there's still an advantage from being in that pack. So you have to make that lead group, and things are a little more intense. I think the pace is more up and down.
Yes.
But that said, at the end of the day, the good athletes and the strong athletes are still going to do well.
Right.
But you know, you just have to be a little smarter out there. Surging all the time throughout the day is not going to help you. but just knowing when to pick what break and stuff like that. So, at the end of the day, it's an individual race, but you do get an advantage from the speedy guys.
Having now done what you did at Ironman Texas and knowing what this race is, having been here, every athlete in their mind knows what the perfect race for them is going to bring about. Is it possible for you to share maybe an ultimate day time-wise for you? And I know conditions, it's very condition dependent here, but what are you capable of?
I wouldn't have a clue when it comes to time. I don't even know what time I did in Ironman Texas. I'm all about racing and winning or getting the best result possible. So, I'm just going to play the game, and hopefully everything comes together. So I'm not too fussed about times.
Do you like it ugly? I see a lot of wind out there today. You can see the white caps going. Haven't seen that in a few days.
Yeah, I'm not too fussy. I've exposed myself to those elements. It doesn't really worry me too much.
Okay.
Would this be the type of race you'd be happy being on the podium, first, second, third? Or do you come in here going, you know what, I took a bronze and a silver, sort of got that. I'd sort of like a gold in this thing.
That's a good question. When I got my first Olympic medal, my goal was to win a medal.
Right.
And hindsight, maybe I would have raced differently if my goal was to win gold.
Yeah.
So, I because of that, I always go into the race to win gold.
Right.
I'd be happy, but I'm here for gold.
You're here for gold. If you're on a podium, you sort of don't want to be looking up at anybody.
Yeah, it's next best thing.
Meanwhile, your time was 8:09, by the way, at Ironman Texas. Yeah, right.
And by the way, that's pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Talk about your first Ironman, New Zealand. Yep. I mean, you go there in your hometown.
Yep.
Yes. Taupo.
Yeah, it was a dream day, to be honest. I've lived there my entire life, and watched when the race. When the race came in, you go and spectate and watch Cam win, and it was always on my radar. And to race there the first time, take the win, and take the record in front of a home crowd was pretty spectacular. So not much went wrong that day, and it was a fun day.
I think didn't you stop in the porta potties and stuff during the race?
Oh yeah, I took a crap. I don't know,
That happens. It's an Ironman. It's a long day.
You're sitting on the porta potty taking a crap in the middle of a race.
Yes.
You're like,
time's ticking by.
Does Crowie wipe or does Crowie not wipe?
Save a few seconds.
Do you wipe or do you not wipe?
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's yeah. So is there, Huddle and I were discussing, is there a Docherty Avenue or Docherty Place? Is there a
Docherty Drive?
Docherty
Is there
Drive.
really?
Yeah, there's a
That's
Docherty
really
Drive.
cool. That's
Docherty
awesome.
Drive.
Yeah.
Where's it at?
It's in Taupo there.
Near where you lived?
Yeah, it's around the corner a bit. There's they didn't give me any land or anything like that.
No, they didn't give you a key to the
cheap.
city or
What's
something?
the intersection?
I got the key to the city.
You got a key to the
got a
city.
key.
That
It doesn't
mean
open
crap.
anything, right?
No.
There's
if
no
I
house
do
to-
something stupid, I'm still going to jail. So. I haven't tested that yet.
So when you're out running, you're running past the street sign, that's got to be pretty cool.
Yeah, I don't really hang around my street.
I would be standing underneath that sign all day
Babbitt would be
long.
there most days.
My
yes.
friends go and do brown eyes at the
They do brown eyes on your side? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love that. That's pretty funny.
Yeah, no, it's my hometown. I live in America, but my hometown is Taupo,
Yeah.
and it's great to go home. It's a beautiful place. So if anyone gets the opportunity to race the Ironman in New Zealand, you really can't go too wrong with Ironman New Zealand.
Especially if they take a photo by your sign.
Yes.
Yeah, on your street. Does the race go down your street?
No. They should maybe do that.
Yeah, they
you
should. They
think?
absolutely should.
You should set up your own aid station on
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
I like that.
Yeah, you got to have pants on when going down my street, though.
So let's talk. We've talked enough about this long stuff. Let's talk Olympics. 2004, your first, second time triathlons in the Olympics, making the team and going over there for the first time, going to Athens, the birthplace of the Olympics. That had to be a pretty special experience.
Yeah, it was. 2004 was an amazing year. You work so hard at something, and you gradually see the results coming together, and you know, it was everything happened very quickly that year. I won my first World Cup, and then a couple of months later I won World Champs.
Yes.
And then you know, 3 or 4 months after that, an Olympic medal at you know, at the birthplace of the Olympics was pretty special, and to do it the way we did, like a Kiwi 1-2 with a country of 4.5 million people.
Yes.
It doesn't happen too often.
No.
So, you know, my life changed pretty quickly after that. You know, good and bad. Sponsors were sort of, you know, coming out left, right and centre.
Yeah.
It was good times.
So that's good. What's bad?
Well, you got less time to train, you know, more media commitments.
More stuff like this.
Yeah, just a lot of crap.
More breakfast with
lots, more
breakfast,
breakfast stuff, and hanging out with those guys.
But you know, it's it was a very fun time, and you know, I wouldn't change it for anything.
Did you travel a lot? Did you and Hamish do a lot of appearances together because you guys were gold and silver? You guys get a little tired of each other?
You know, we kind of did our own thing, but you know, it was fun times. You know, we're certainly in hot demand, and you know, there was a lot of times where I didn't have to wait in lines at a bar, and you know, I
Did you wear the medal with you?
Oh, all the time.
Good man.
All my spandex all the time. No, it was a lot of fun. Probably not the best lifestyle for a professional triathlete.
Yes.
Put on a few pounds. But
you're entitled.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah.
Did that experience change your perspective when you went back to Beijing and got the bronze? I mean, how did that change what you did prior to that race?
It didn't change too much there. I had a little bit of pressure on me, but actually my perspective on the Olympics changed in London more so. It became very clear. You know, they say it's not about winning, it's about competing. But
right.
The reality is it's about winning.
It's about medals.
You know, everybody loves a winner or the medalist. So it was a very different perspective at the Olympics, winning a medal versus just participating.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Prefer winning medals.
Yes. Well, you still got a bronze.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it was at the end of the day, in my opinion, silver and bronze are the same thing. You know, it's next best to gold.
Right.
So I was there to win gold. A little bit of disappointment, but you know, I was a bit content that I still backed it up with another medal.
Watching that race at the time, when Simon Whitfield had been dropped, and then all of a sudden he was back. Right? You see him throw his hat off and go. Mm-hmm. That was probably one of the smartest moves in a race that I'd seen. Just because by making that move as early as he did, it sort of put it in a position of, okay, maybe one guy will come. I can medal now by making this move.
Yeah.
And did he surprise you guys?
Yeah, he certainly did. I mean, he caught up because we were playing quite a tactical game.
Yeah.
You know, I was backing myself in the sprint. And you know, he calls it shock and awe, and it's a American military term where they come in and just bomb the shit out of it.
Yes.
And he took off at that point, and he knew that he couldn't hold that speed.
Right.
But you know, shock and awe. I was surprised that he took off that hard, that fast, that soon, and you know, it rattled me. It rattled Javier. It just didn't rattle Frodo. So it was a very smart move.
Yeah.
But that said, you know, I'd actually played my trump card a little earlier on the race. So
did you try to surge a little earlier?
Yeah, there was a lot of tactics, and I maybe had redlined it further down the road. So you know, it's a very tactical game, and unless you know you're in control of the race the whole time, when it's that close, you got to play your cards at the right time. So, yeah, I was content with the medal.
Absolutely.
When you're used to racing like that, is it surprising to you how much more of a factor fatigue and just the length of the day at an Ironman is? Because you talk to a lot of athletes who will tell you in the final, whatever it is, 10 miles to 10K of an Ironman, there's no racing going on. All they want is to just simply get to the finish line, and they'll do anything for that. And if someone passes them, they don't care. If they pass someone, they don't care. They're just doing what they can do to get to the finish line. Have you experienced that? Or have you experienced true racing where you're like, I'm going to do this, that, and the other? Or are you just like, please God, get me to the finish line?
I haven't experienced true racing in Ironman. I mean, my record, I've started 4 races, pulled out of 2 and won 2.
Yeah. So, well,
you know,
but you know what I mean? Do you feel like...
I have not experienced racing, and I certainly do know what it means.
Yeah.
You know, you're halfway through the run and your legs are hurting like hell, and you're like, crap, I've got another half marathon to go, and the pain just gets worse and worse and worse.
Yeah.
So, you know, even when in Texas I had a 5, 6, 7 minute lead, I don't know what it was, but I was still worried that I get beaten. And people are like, you can relax now. It's like, no, I could easily pass out right now and get beaten. You know, even a couple of 100 meters from the finish line, you can't really relax because you're in so much pain. Your body is touch or go.
Yeah.
So, you know, that's probably my one big disadvantage going into this race. I haven't had to race the second half of a marathon.
Yeah.
What's going to be interesting, though, and we've always wanted to see it,
yes.
every once in a while we do, is people coming out of the energy lab, and Dave Scott used to say, when Craig Alexander says, what tactics should I have? He says, there's no tactics unless you come out of the energy lab with somebody.
Yeah.
Then tactics start, the last 6 miles of this race.
Right.
But if tactics come in, you've done it long enough that that'll be great for you.
Yeah.
Don't you think?
Yeah, like I say, you know, to be the best athlete, don't have to be a physically good athlete. You need the top 6 inches as well. And I like to think I'm a bit of a gutsy racer, so you know, fingers crossed that.
Love it.
Hopefully I don't have to encounter that because it hurts just as much.
Bevan, thanks so much for taking time.
I appreciate it.
We're very, very excited to have you with us. Bevan Docherty has been our guest. Again, this is Breakfast from Kona. My name is Bob Abbott. His name is Paul Heddle. We are presented by Active, #Inspired to Race. Our sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Event Graphics, the official graphic house of USA Triathlon, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio. Poncho Man, take us away.
We're gonna swim, bike, and run to Kona Town. We're gonna swim, bike, and run to Kona Town. And breakfast with Bob and Paul. Breakfast with Bob and Paul. Breakfast with Bob.
Poncho Man.
Well, Thursday, baby. Ow.
Photos. Yo.
Troubles melts like lemon drops high above the chimney top. That's where you'll find me. And breakfast with Bob and Paul.
Thank you, Poncho Man. Yeah. Welcome back to Huggos. Breakfast from Kona, presented by Active, #Inspired to Race. We are brought to you by Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, and of course, Babbittville Radio. Our next guest, the premier coach in the sport of triathlon.
That's a pretty big. That's
pretty
big
good.
I would say that's pretty legit, though.
I
don't think a whole lot
Siri
of people could argue
Lindley,
that.
You're making me nervous.
2010 champion, 2012 champion, 2013, 3 out of 4.
3 out of 4, Bob.
Yep, 3 out of 4.
Or 4 out of 5
I
this
almost
year.
ran out of fingers.
But you guys,
yes,
I wasn't the one swimming, biking, and running. That's
but
what you have to understand.
you were the one
Well.
cheerleading. You
But
were
it
the
was-
one inspiring.
but they
You were
did
the
it.
one-
But when you talk to the athletes, you're clearly
big
an
part of it.
integral part of
A
this.
big part of
So.
it.
Well, thank you very much for that. And I think seriously, I am just blessed to work with the most amazing people.
Yeah.
And who trust in me, and I trust in them, and I think that makes all the difference. But thank you so much. I mean, to be a part of those 4 wins have been the greatest moments in my life, and I know how hard both Rinny in her 2 wins and Leanda in hers, how hard they worked, and what a long journey it took to get there. So I couldn't be more proud to have been a part of that, and I hope that we can definitely do it again.
We're talking about wins, but
Yes.
there's some other women who have had great performances. They weren't necessarily wins, but I'm sure they were equally thrilled to finish where they finished, right?
Yeah, and that's my goal with all my athletes. They all have, their goal for race day. And what I want for them, I mean, the ultimate goal is to arrive on race day healthy, hungry to race, and having everything in their arsenal that they need to have their best race. Yvonne Van Vlerken came in 4th last year. Oh, okay.
Wait a second.
Yvonne.
Come on now.
Get it out.
Okay, wait. You're starting with Yvonne?
We're starting with Yvonne.
Okay, we'll get you the
who's
Yvonne hat.
nicknamed Vonzie.
All right, here you go.
Now, Vonzie is, oh gosh, my head starts getting so heavy.
Okay, we're starting with Yvonne Van Vlerken. Okay.
So Vonzie came in 4th last year and had a phenomenal race, and was actually in 3rd place for a while. Didn't manage her, taking in what her body needed to maintain the effort she was putting out there. But she was absolutely ecstatic. Do I think she can finish higher? Yeah, she definitely has the ability to.
Bike crash, though.
That's been really tough. But in the same note, it's really helped her biking and her running. Which is great.
And it sounds like she said yesterday she swam better.
And that was the weirdest thing.
Than she swam before.
She didn't sound confident to me, and it was all about the swimming and the pain. And yet, like she told us, she swam the course faster than she ever has. And I'm like, that's not adding up.
And that doesn't add up to me either. But she says, Pear was out there and he kept slowing down, looking over his shoulder, doing backstroke, letting me catch back up. Even in Challenge Roth this year, she didn't have a terrible swim.
No.
And she hadn't been swimming much at all. So she's a fighter. And the amount of pain that she went through in Roth to have the swim that she did, I have no doubt that on the big day, Yvonne is capable of getting out there and racing her best race. I don't want to put that kind of pressure on her. Oh, well, hi, Vonzie. But she is capable of that. And as long as, the pain's not too bad after the swim and she can just really focus on getting into her groove on the bike and run, then, she really is capable of a great day.
So you've got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 women who are here racing.
Yes.
Well, Rebecca's not racing. We have 5 women racing. How do you keep all of these athletes want to win this race?
Yeah.
And your job is to get them all ready to win this race.
Yeah.
How do you keep them from killing each other, from killing other people?
Do you have to quarantine them?
You have to keep them. In terms of their workouts, do you sort of have to keep some away from each other? And
Do you know the personalities well enough to know who's going to get along and who's not?
Do you have a psychotherapy degree?
Yeah. I actually do. I have a psychology degree.
That's good.
I do, and I wanted to go back and get my whatever my
You have
PhD.
a doctorate already. Yeah.
I do feel like I'm improving my psychological strengths, at least with them, not with myself.
Yes.
But yeah, they all are here racing to win.
Okay.
And in the season, the most beautiful part about this group is that they know that they all have their individual strengths, and they know that in working together in training, that they can only bring each other to a higher level. Now there are certain times, like we'll do a ton of stuff together early on, you know, April, May, June. Once July and August starts coming around, then things need to start being segregated a bit more, because I think everybody holds sacred their lead into Kona.
Yes.
And it's not like they're all doing the same training. I mean, they all have different strengths and weaknesses, but we can always start a ride together. We can always, you know, start a run together, stuff like that. We can all do a session in the pain cave where we have our compy trainers and treadmills, and nobody's going to know what anyone's doing.
I love that.
So that works out great, and it's very motivating for them. And they truly do want the best for everyone in the group. But when it comes to race day and even race week, I mean, they're all being amazing to one another, but each one of them has a separate race plan. And my job is to sit down with each one of them. That happens either today or tomorrow, and we come up with that individual's, well, it's not like we're coming up with it today. We've been working on that race plan throughout the year, but to sit down and go through it with them. Now, the biggest rule is that I don't share anyone else's race plan with someone else. I mean, that would be ridiculous. It's not.
Do you go ahead and share it with the media? Just,
you know, I tell everyone. So, I can tell everyone right now.
Yeah,
don't worry.
Let's go through all 5 and I'll tell you
right
exactly.
now. That'd be great. That's perfect.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Well, let's start with Mary Beth.
No.
We got Mary Beth right now. Here we go. Okay, so we'll talk a little bit about Mary Beth Ellis, who actually, it's funny because I talked to the NBC guys yesterday. They're like, wow, I've never seen that personality in her before. And both of us were the same way. She felt so, and in fact, that she's not sick or injured, and she's here healthy.
Confident, calm, happy.
Well, it's actually, you got her name wrong. It's Mary Badger Ellis.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sitting there going, oh my God, I messed it up.
I don't know where you got Beth, but it's Mary Badger Ellis.
Okay.
She is one feisty chick. And she obviously had an amazing year last year. Brett Sutton did, you know, so many great things with her. They had a great run together. She finished off the year, unfortunately, with that crash.
Right.
I had coached Mary Beth for about 4 years before Brett, and got her kind of started in her career. We had a great relationship, great communication. So when she came back, it was kind of like not starting from
all right.
Don't make me sing again. I got ridiculed last year.
Yes.
When we're done, I'll sing all day.
I like it.
So she's back, and it was quite easy for us to get into a groove. We're both more mature in what we know and how we do things, and we've come up with an amazing recipe for her. And a lot of it was just achieving balance and finding, I think, one of the biggest pieces missing from her arsenal was having any sort of a nutrition hydration plan for race day.
Yeah.
And how she had those amazing races that she did with nothing.
She said that yesterday, and that was shocking to both of us. I mean, we both looked at each other.
She told me.
Yeah,
there was no plan whatsoever. Like
none.
I'm going to do an Ironman and have a gel.
It reminded me. It reminded me of Hellriegel prior to his win. He was second on like Coke and a banana. You know what I mean? And then he came back, had a nutrition plan, and won going away. So it really reminded me of that. And I thought, wow, this.
It's still happening.
Yeah, exactly. It's still happening.
It is, and it wasn't an easy. It's not like one day I said we got to do this, and the next day it was fine. We had to make baby steps, but we're at the point now where in training, starting in July, she started really nailing it, and what that led to was just session after session being able to perform at the level that we needed her to come in here feeling confident, and because it's not just about race day. I mean, it's doing it all the time, and so now it's just a part of what we do. And for me, that was one of the biggest things we needed to work on. I really don't see a weakness in Mary Beth. She's got it physically and she's got it mentally, and she's willing to fight, she's willing to suffer. So if she does nail her plan, which she has, I think I know that, you know, she's got a great race within her. Yeah, for sure.
As someone who is formerly #1 in the world, right? That's you.
Oh,
yeah.
By the way,
I don't remember that. It was a long time ago.
At
Okay.
the Olympic distance, how does the fact that you were at the top of the pyramid, has that helped you as a coach?
I think mostly because as an athlete, I made every mistake in the world. I mean, I started out my career just making every mistake, and I would find coaches, and that was great, and I kept learning and getting better. And so I think that I can relate to nearly anything that comes up. Not everything, but nearly everything. And there's some experience I can either share from what I've been through or what other athletes that I've coached have been through. And I think that's a really valuable thing to have. And that's helped me a ton. And also understanding mostly the mental states that you go through, whether it's in a really hard training block or whether someone's going through an injury or, you know, coming into a race and knowing how to, like, what kind of mindset is the best mindset for a certain athlete. So all of that is really helpful. And obviously I never did an Ironman. I have so much respect for them. I actually think they're nuts. I love coaching it so much. It's so fascinating to me, and I feel like every day I'm learning more and being able to add to what I'm doing as a coach. But I think it really helped a ton to have been an athlete, to have gotten to the top, to have, you know, had to stay there and do everything I needed to do. It's been helpful.
Can you give us an example of the differences and just give us like as far apart as you can get it in terms of the ends of the spectrum? And you don't have to name who the differences are, but I'm sure across, for example, these 5 women, there are very different strategies in both training and or actual execution of the race. Yeah. And at one end of the spectrum, you may have whatever pacing, and the other you may have just going for it. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it always interests me. You think they're all athletes, they're all really well trained, everyone's going to approach the race pretty much the same way. It's a whatever, eating, drinking contest, pacing, blah, blah, blah. But you know that it's not that way, especially in these different personalities. Is there a huge difference one way or the other? Just talk about what maybe one athlete would do versus what another athlete would do, because I'm always interested to find out if there really is that big of a difference, or is everyone's
There's
doing...
a massive difference.
Okay.
I think that's what makes my job so fun. I mean, if we're talking training, on one side of the spectrum, or actually we're talking racing, one side of the spectrum you'll have someone that has the ability, totally is capable of performing at a certain level, but they're afraid to fail, or they're afraid to go too hard. They're a little afraid to take risks.
Right.
On the other end, there'll be someone that is willing to just, I'm going to frickin' go for it, and I don't care if I drop, but I'm going to go for it, and I have to reel them in and say, we have to be patient. We have to, you know, really be pragmatic and thoughtful about our approach, especially at a race like Kona. And then you'll have, you know, someone in the middle that is just, I will ask for what I want, and I will, and not necessarily what I want, but I will ask for what I feel needs to be done to tick off that box of racing your best race, and they will just do it exactly in that way. So I would say that's kind of the difference.
As soon as you said that, it reminds me of sort of the heart rate monitor following, power meter following person versus the, I'm not going to have any of that stuff. I don't even want to know what time it is, and I am going. And it's like, good luck if you can catch me. And if they blow up, they blow up. If they don't, they win.
And we train a lot with power, but my rule is that on race day, you cover it up. We look at cadence, and that's it. Because we also do a lot of training without or a lot of training where we have the power, but they don't see what they've done until after, when I upload it and we go through it together. And that's been really helpful, because it really is about going by feel. I mean, when do you go into a race having prepared so perfectly in the last few weeks, except here? So they don't realize just how many more watts they can be pushing on race day at the same effort. And that kind of stuff would really mess someone up. If they're going off of their watts in training and what they hold for their Ironman race pace in training, I mean, you're going to have more here if you've managed your taper right. So, so I would say those are the different ends of the spectrum. And also, I think the attitude going into a race is a huge thing. Mindset, what motivates them, what's going to...
Do you have athletes that race happy and others that race angry better, one way or the other? You know what I mean? Everyone talks about it. Oh, he races angry, he races happy, you know?
Yeah, well, I know, and I think Jody wouldn't mind me talking about this, but Jody
wait a
used to.
second.
Here we go. Here we go. Get it out.
This is great. I didn't plan this segue.
Good segueing. Okay,
is that a
Jody.
word?
Yes, it
I
is.
haven't used it in a long time.
Yes,
Or
it's
you can
also a
ride it
vehicle.
too. Yeah, you
Yeah.
can ride
Okay.
it or say it.
I must be looking really good by now.
You are.
Huh?
You're looking great. Yeah. Just don't
okay.
tilt. You're like the.
I won't tilt.
you're
I'll
like-
fall into the
yeah,
ocean.
yeah.
So Jody, I'll never forget when she first came to me. She said, "I'm not used to being happy. You know, I feel like I can only be successful if I'm racing, you know, angry or mad or unhappy." And I said, "Well, you may have raced angry and mad and raced great, but what I'm saying is that you can race even better if we have a more positive mindset and a more positive vibe going in, because that is my belief. I mean, I am a big believer in racing with gratitude, being, you know, this is what we love, this is what we do, we're at a world championship. Like, how grateful are we that not only are we here, but you're racing with the very best in the world.
Exactly. And you're one of them.
And you have, you have the ability to possibly win this. And that, you know, that's scary at first when it's been drilled into your head that you need to race angry or you need to race unhappy to do well. So I was really proud of her for giving in to what I was suggesting and going with that, because as the season went on, you know, we have an amazing time together as a group, and some people say, "Oh, you guys have too much fun, you know, that's not serious enough for me." Well, I tell you what, it works. We work our butts off, but you know, we enjoy it, and I think that's really important. And ever since, you know, and you spoke about Mary Beth, you know, she is just a ball of fire, you know, just funny and gregarious, and you know, they're all happy and at peace knowing that they've done all the work. They've done everything that they need to do to be here, having left no stone unturned. And so for me, racing in a place not necessarily happy, because you know, in life we all get dealt bad times. It's not easy.
No.
But at least feeling at peace inside. That's when you're really able to tap into all the greatness which is inside of you.
A lot of people talking about Jody in the swim. Obviously, there's a lot more than just the swim, but strengths, weaknesses?
Right now, I can honestly say, and I'm very proud to say this, that I don't believe any of my 5 athletes, well, actually, just aside from Yvonne and her injury,
they're all here healthy.
Our job has been to tackle any weaknesses and make them stronger. And coming in here, they know and I know that our goal is to arrive here at a higher level than we were before, not just in one thing, but in all 3.
That's a little scary.
And we've accomplished that, which is great. But I'm sure everyone else out there, everyone else that's here is trying to be the best that they can be at this point in time.
Let's talk about the doctor.
The
doctor, Amanda.
Yeah.
The doctor is in.
The doctor's in, and she seems in a great place too.
Yep, she is in a great place. She, you know, we talk about often, you know, when you go through a hard time, my approach when there's something bad going on, like you've got an injury or you're dealing with something, you can handle it a lot better if you realize that through almost every terrible thing that happens to you, something amazing always comes out of it. And at least in my life, that helps me get through the tougher times, because I know that it's only leading me to a better place. She had some tough stuff. She had a great start to the season, had a few injuries that she was dealing with that were, you know, those injuries that you just don't know what's going on. And that really slowed us down a lot for the first 3 months or 4 months of training camp. But it forced us to take a step back and to really reevaluate everything that we were doing, everything, you know, from the shoes she's wearing to what she's eating and her diet and her everything. And it took a long time, and for a while we both thought, oh, this is never ending. But when she got back to a point of being healthy, she was so grateful and thankful to be back healthy and strong again that her progression has been fantastic. She has done just enough work by this point of time to be ready to get out there and have a great race. She hasn't raced. The girl would race like twice a week if she could. So, you know, that's been hard for her, but that was something that I demanded. She wanted to go race world championships in Mont Tremblant, and I said, if you do that, you might show up in Kona a week or
Flat.
two down from where you need to be.
Yeah.
Right.
So she trusted in that, and I really appreciated that. And I feel she is in an awesome place, both physically and mentally, to go out there and perform to her potential, which will be really exciting.
So then we got the two-time champion.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, course record holder.
Can we please put Vincent on that? You all know that I call her Vincent.
I did not know that. Vincent?
Vincent.
Exactly.
That has been her nickname for 10 years.
Did not know
Well,
that.
so Rinny is her overall nickname.
Right.
Well, Mary Miller, who is one of my athletes still, joined the team and was all nervous about, knowing all the athletes and getting to be friends. And Rinny had shown up at the pool with a cold. So Mary wanted to be nice and go buy her some vitamin C or echinacea. And she had heard me just calling her Rinny. I guess she didn't know that her nickname was Rinny. So anyway, she goes and buys her this echinacea and shows up at Rinny's door and says, Vinny, I bought you something for your cold. Because she was hearing Vinny instead of Rinny.
Oh, that is
so I just thought that was the greatest nickname
that
ever.
That is hilarious.
It was Vinny and Vincent, Vincenza, Senzi. It's just, but she loves it because I can yell Vincent and not everyone's going to turn and be like, oh, where is she? Or
she knows immediately that you're there.
Oh, yeah. So she knows her nickname. Maybe she didn't want everyone to know because I don't know if, I actually don't think she'd like that though.
So obviously when she won, she came back and didn't win. She's won again. And it's really tough to repeat here. Yeah. It's really tough to defend. How have you helped her maybe get to the point where she hasn't let off the gas and she's ready to go? Because I think a lot of people perceive that when someone wins in Hawaii, and it's natural, I think, because it takes an amazing amount of effort and work to win this race. And afterwards, I think it's natural to go, I'm the Ironman champion. I want to enjoy this for a year. But you come back the following year as the defending champion, maybe not in the best, maybe not as hungry, maybe whatever. And I think we saw it with Leanda, and I think the perception is that might be the case, but then everyone I've talked to this week says not the case. She looks absolutely amazing this week.
Well, I had to wait to have the same question answered for me because in my mind, after the race, we got together and we both looked at one another and thought that was the most amazing thing ever. It was so special to us. Yeah. I've got goosebumps again. Yeah. Every time I even talk about it, it was amazing. But we sat down and I asked her, I said, do you think that there's more inside of you? And she said, I do. And she said, well, what do you think, Coach? And I said, I think I have always known that we can keep improving the swim, keep improving the bike, and keep improving the run. And so it became more about, I need to get all fired up to go back and repeat. And Kona, it became more about, I haven't reached my best.
My potential,
And for her, that's what it's always been. Well, for us, that's what it's always been.
Sure.
I've always said to her, I just want you to achieve excellence within yourself, whatever that means. And from the start, that's what it's been about. And so when I said I was waiting to kind of get the answer, I was waiting to see whether or not she would be as motivated in her training, be as hungry, be as laser focused. Come end of July, August, she becomes like, you see a transformation. Right. And had I not seen that, I might have said, I don't really know what to expect. But her passion and focus and desire to want to keep hitting higher marks just kept getting stronger and stronger. And I am so proud of her again. I mean, God, she just makes, they all make me so proud. And I don't say that to be cheesy, like, oh, she's so nice all the time, but they deserve it. And she has hit the marks that we've wanted to hit. And I'm really proud of her. So I do know that we are coming in, Miranda's coming in a stronger Miranda than ever before.
It's just scary for the other women.
I mean, I'm glad I'm not racing, but, again, there's so many amazing athletes out there, and this is Kona, and you got to respect the course and the conditions and everyone out there. But we sat down today and we looked at each other and we said we have done absolutely everything that we need to do to go in knowing that given a great day where she can execute to the best of her ability, that we can make this happen.
Love it. Always a pleasure to have the lovely and talented Siri Lindley joining us. Again, this is Breakfast from Kona. you might see the top 5 right there.
And that's not a helmet.
That would be
That's
awesome.
not a helmet. Would that be a good day? Oh, I got first, second,
Top
third, fourth,
5.
fifth.
Thank you guys. It's my favorite day. Well, no. Second favorite day.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you so much for having me.
Welcome.
Thanks for being
and
here.
thank you for being here. Thanks again. This is Breakfast from Kona. My name is Bob Abbott. We're presented by Active, #Inspired to Race. Our sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Event Graphics, the official graphics house of USA Triathlon, Lava Magazine, and Babbittville Radio. Poncho Man, take us out.
If the hat fits, let them wear it. And if the hat fits, Siri will wear it. And if the hat fits, let her wear it. Breakfast with Bob and Paul and Siri.
Oh! Yay! Thanks, guys. Who did I have on top?
Aloha, it's breakfast, breakfast with Bob. Aloha, it's breakfast, breakfast with Bob. Breakfast with Bob, breakfast with Bob.
And Poncho Man. Welcome again to Huggos, Breakfast from Kona, presented by Active, hashtag Inspired to Race. Our other sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro. If you are racing, go by the GoPro booth at the expo and turn in your GoPro camera. They will be giving it to you at the last turn on the Ali'i Drive, so you can shoot your own finish. Very exciting. MPA Event Graphics, Lava Magazine, and Babbittville Radio. Our next guest, Coach Jim Vance. Jimmy, how the heck are you?
I'm great.
Awesome.
I got a question. Does this actually classify as work?
This is my office, baby. Welcome to my office. Not bad, huh?
It's beautiful. Even with white caps today.
I know. It's actually, well, so this means there might be a little wind out there on Saturday.
Yeah, maybe. I hear. Yeah, it's only going to come in, so.
So one of the interesting things, Jimmy, we were talking the other day when you're on the radio show about what you had noticed in terms of RPM, specifically on Luke McKenzie. That a couple years ago, in 2011, he was about in the low 80s RPM-wise. He finished 9th. Following year, he finished 24th in his really low 70s. And then last year when he took second, he was in the 90s. And obviously had a great race.
Yeah.
Have you seen that with other athletes?
Well, yeah. So if we just took the last two winners,
yes,
Pete Jacobs, he was a 91 RPM guy
for the whole ride.
For the whole ride.
Yeah.
And you look at Van Leerd, he was an 86 guy.
Okay.
And then, but I think when you really look at it with Luke is one of the few athletes, the few pros out there who's actually willing to share his power data.
Right.
And so for guys like us that really want to analyze how the race is developing and things, it's very, very cool. So yeah, like you said, he started off in the 80s, he got 9th. Then in the next year he's in the 70s, he gets 24th.
Didn't run as well, right? Yeah.
And now the next year he comes back and I want to say he was 93.
Yeah. And
has a breakthrough race. And even when I went down through it, I said, okay, there's got to be some explanation for this, this huge breakthrough. And actually, I had analyzed his first two power files, and I was looking around, watching the race last year, and as I'm watching the race, I'm like, that's a totally different Luke McKenzie than the one that I've studied, just watching him race.
Right.
And the way he was riding.
Just watching his cadence.
And I even looked and went back, well, maybe this year it was easier in the first part. I was trying to tell myself this can't be true. And everything that I looked at told me no. It actually, like everybody knows about when they come out of the water, there's this huge surge early through town. And the hills, you got down Palani, up Kuakini, and back down, then back up Palani, and then so it's just mayhem.
With crowds and everything.
And everybody yelling, and I mean it's a tunnel up Palani. It's like the Tour de France, basically.
Right.
And what you've got, and it's so early in the race that everybody's so into it. It was the most volatile race for him of the 3 years was last year in that early part. So, but he
calmed down when he got on the Queen Highway.
Well, I wouldn't say that he calmed down. Everybody calms down when they get out there. But the fact that when I compare 2011 and 2012 to last year was actually more volatile early.
Interesting.
Than the previous 2 years. So he was not just riding higher cadence and riding well. He was riding well off of the most volatile start that he had ever seen.
Right.
So that to me was really interesting. And you have to ask yourself, well, was his change from a mid-70s rider cadence to a 90s rider able to allow him to handle that volatility better than some of the other riders? You've got, and let me just say this: Luke McKenzie did not wake up last year on Saturday morning of the race and think, well, today I'm going to ride in the 90s.
It was a conscious effort, probably after the year before.
Yes, there's no doubt that he changed the way he trained, that he changed the way he rode.
He changed his physicality. He got skinnier, all of it.
Everything, and then you can't argue with the results of the run. He had his best run on top of it.
Right.
So he had his best ride. He had his best run. His power numbers were better. Yeah, some people might say, well, he was just fitter, and I don't disagree with that. But I don't think that it's a stretch to say he was fitter because of the way that he approached his training, and the way that he decided to become this rider.
Right.
This higher cadence rider, higher spinning.
What do you recommend for the people you train through Training Bible in terms of cadence? Is 90 too high, or it just depends on the athlete?
Well, to ride in the 90s for 4.5 hours at nearly 300 watts is pretty darn hard.
Right.
So you've got to have the right athlete to be able to do that. So it has to be an individual conscious choice. He's actually able to be out there and probably hold that because he's going so much faster. So he's out there a lot less time than, say, your mid-packer.
Right.
So he's able to do things. The circumstances of the race don't apply to him the same as they do to the mid-packer. So you do have to take an individual choice, but I do think there's a lot to be said for any athlete in terms of really analyzing their cadence that they ride at and figuring out, okay, can I ride higher? You know, can I go 3-4 RPMs more? If you're a mid-70s rider, you know, you have to figure if you're a low cadence rider. So the year before he was a masher, we would say, in the 70s with his RPM. That means he's forcefully pushing down on the pedals, but slowly, so much harder every pedal stroke. I mean, that's just going to wear and tear you down.
Right.
So
letting the bike do the work a little bit more.
Let the bike do the work. You know, he's constantly trying to build this momentum every single pedal stroke. Whereas when he's spinning at a higher rate, he's not fighting the momentum of the bike. He's letting the momentum of the bike stay there. You know, that's probably the best way to look at it. So, do I think most athletes could raise their cadence? Sure. Is that to say everyone at home should go out and train at 90, 93 like Luke McKenzie? There'd probably be some disappointed people with the
The other stat I found interesting was you look a lot at the first mile, of the marathon, and compare their pace for that first mile to their pace for the entire marathon.
Sure.
And the people who did really well were obviously a little better at pacing. Talk a little bit about some of the people who, I think Bart Arnott's, who had our best run, and something like there was a 7-second differential between his pace for the race at marathon and his pace for that first mile.
Sure.
And I think Rinnie and Frederick were like 21 seconds difference. But you saw some athletes, like Faris El Sultan was, like 90 seconds? I don't know. It was ridiculous.
Faris El Sultan's first mile off the bike last year was 5:37.
Which he probably isn't going to be running for the whole race.
Correct.
Yes.
That would be a 2:20-something marathon. So, yeah, that's pretty darn fast. Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
And maybe the viewers at home can take a stab at this. Who do you think, of the top 10 men last year, who do you think had the slowest first mile off the bike, if you had to take a guess?
That might have been Frederick.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Frederick Van Leerd had the slowest first mile of any man in the top 10. What does that say?
That he knew not to get excited in that first mile.
Exactly.
To let his legs come back and not burn matches early.
Yeah. You know, his power file is out there also from last year.
Yes.
And you look at it, he was very steady on the bike. I mean, he is a machine when it comes to pacing, and you look at it.
Right.
I mean, he was so good. There wasn't a guy that, his pace differential from the first mile to his overall pace was 21 seconds.
Right.
The next closest in the top 10 was Bart Arnott's at 7 seconds. Nobody else was even within 9 seconds of him otherwise. So he was very patient.
Yes.
He did not let the emotions get to him. I tell this to my athletes all the time. Ironman is an emotional roller coaster. You know, you can't when you're feeling great and you're feeling that high, oh, this is going great, you can't lose your cool. You can't make poor decisions. You can't blow through an aid station and think, I don't need that. Or you can't think, well, I'm going to forget pacing. I'm going to attack this hill. You can't. You got to be smart. And because also when you get down on those lows, and you're going to have a low, I don't care who you are. Every guy and girl in the race is going to have a low. If you get down on yourself down there, the higher the highs, the deeper the lows. And athletes tend to do that. And he's not. He's very stoic through the race if you look at the way he races. And, that's why, honestly, I think that's why he makes the podium again this year.
So, he's very consistent. On the women's side, what did you see last year from the women's side in terms of that first mile?
Well, I think even more interesting than last year, let's go back. I wasn't here in 2012 to collect the data, but I was here in 2011.
Okay.
So it was Chrissy and Mirinda.
Right.
Okay. They come off the bike within about, I think Chrissy is 2:20 or so up on Mirinda. Chrissy runs her first mile in 5:53. Okay, not a good choice.
Right.
The problem was Mirinda ran her first mile in 5:58.
So both of them might have gone too hard.
Yes. I think if you go back to 2011, Mirinda paces herself a little bit better those first few miles. I think she beats Chrissy.
Because she only was down a couple minutes at the end of the race.
Yeah, it was 3 minutes. I would give or take about 3 minutes. Yeah. And literally they both ran 2:52 and change.
Right.
But early on, everything was set up in that first mile. And even though, Chrissy was a great runner, Mirinda is probably a better runner, but because she didn't take advantage of Chrissy's mistake going out, so fast, she wasn't able to capitalize on Chrissy's mistake and actually reel her in. I mean, that's my interpretation of the race and the data from that. So now we go back to last year, totally different Mirinda. She's down even more.
Right.
And she runs her first mile in 6:11. So from a 5:58 to a 6:11. She varies, I think it's 20 seconds is all she varied from her first mile to her actual overall pace. And she was just much more consistent, and she runs 2:50 now. Now think if she runs that 2:50 in 2011 against Chrissy.
Potentially wins the race.
Yeah, well, it certainly would have been very, very exciting coming down, Palani into Kuakini.
What other stats do you look at when it comes to the Ironman? Obviously, your RPM and as we talked about that first mile. Is there another stat that you use as a barometer?
It's really hard to say, and each course is going to differ. This is the one great thing about this race is you've got a collection of great talent that always comes to it, and so I can collect a lot of different data. And so this year what I'm going to actually try and do is I'm going to look at mile one. I'm going to look at the 15K marker because they're pretty much right next to each other. And I'm even going to try to get some cadence data this year. I don't know how easy that'll be. You know, in the men's race you tend to have these packs that come in. In the women's race they're generally a lot more strung out. Yeah. So it might be hard to get all the men, but it's probably a little easier to get the women because they're coming through a little bit differently. But yeah, I think I have a conjecture that at the 15K mark, probably how an athlete's doing is going to tell you how the rest of the race is going to go, based upon how much they've dropped off, especially cadence-wise, how much they've dropped off in terms of pacing as well. I actually created a new metric, and I'm still debating with it. I take power files from the race, and I call it cadence fade, power fade. I compare the first hour of the race to the last hour of the race.
Oh, interesting.
So I take the average cadence and the normalized power, and I look and see, okay, how much did that drop off? And what I tend to find is the bigger the drop off, the worse the run in terms of percentage of power fades and things like that, which sounds obvious to a lot of people. But actually, it's interesting to see, okay, well, is that more so in your lower cadence guys or your higher cadence people? So I'm still debating on it. I'm still collecting the data, and I'm trying to isolate it. I hope to write more about it here in the coming months. Every year, because I get about 7 or 8 power files of top pros that are shared. So it's too early for me to say here's what I think. But athletes at home who use power meters, I would tell them look at your Ironmans. If you have a power file, compare the first hour and the last hour. Isolate those and compare your average cadence and normalized power to each other. What's the percentage of drop off? I believe personally that if you're seeing a big drop in power but not much drop in cadence, you're probably a low cadence rider who's just fatiguing because the force, you just can't produce the force.
Right.
And that's probably an athlete that needs to raise their cadence a little bit more. So I'm trying to look at that more. I think that's this is what I do. My wife thinks I'm a nerd.
You are.
Thanks.
But that's been Fun with Numbers with Coach Jim Vance. Hey, Jimmy, thanks, man. It'll be fun. We'll do during radio on Saturday. We'll be chatting a bunch.
Yeah, I think I hope, like I say, I think I'll be able to actually tell you who's going to win maybe by 15K based upon how the race is going.
We like that. Again, this is Breakfast from Kona. We're presented by Active. #Inspired to Race. My name is Bob Babbitt. Our sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Event Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio, and Take Us Out, Poncho Man.
Aloha, it's Breakfast with Bob, and I said good morning. It's Breakfast with Bob. It's Breakfast with Bob. It's Breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man.
You're welcome, my brother. Ow. So come with me into the sea. It's breakfast with Bob, breakfast with Bob, breakfast with Bob.
Thank you, Poncho Man. You are the legend.
Yay.
Welcome back to Breakfast from Kona. My name is Bob Babbitt, and we are presented by Active, hashtag Inspired to Race. Our other sponsors are Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Lava Magazine, Babbittville Radio. My next guest, one of our favorite people on the planet. She has done 53 Ironman events.
As of Saturday.
As of Saturday, but you're 53rd.
Yeah.
You've won 6 full Ironmans.
That's right.
12 70.3s. And you're with us again.
And I'm happy to be here.
You are happy to be here.
Yes, wouldn't have missed
Coming
it.
off really a nice race last year, right?
Yeah, it was
7th
great.
last year?
Yeah.
Were you happy with the race?
Absolutely. I was in a coffin for most of the marathon, so that's what we need to change between last year and this year.
Yes.
I wasn't still racing last year.
You were surviving during
I
the
still
marathon.
want to be racing at mile 25 this year.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, 54, 455, you're right there.
Right.
316, you got to get that closer to 3.
We just need to take about 20 minutes off that,
Boom,
and we'll be good
done.
to go. Yeah.
So coming off of that,
yes.
when you come off that type of race, do you go, okay, next year,
right,
I've got to run faster? But the hard part is, if you just focus on a run, then other stuff goes away.
Sure.
How do you balance that?
Sure. Well, after the race, we took that bird's eye view of, what went right.
Yes.
Because you can't forget about that part when you don't, you're leading the marathon at one point and then you literally die at mile 5.
Right.
The race is over.
Right.
And so what happened in that section? What did we end up doing wrong there in preparation? And this year, since Kona last year, we've worked on that weakness, which is my marathon in an Ironman. We know how to do it now in a 70.3.
Yes.
But we need to do it twice. So that's what we've worked on since October. And here we are a year later, and now we're fully prepared. I haven't done an Ironman since Taupo, Ironman New Zealand.
Which you won.
Which is a big deal for me because I'm used to coming in and doing 6 Ironmans.
I know. In fact, that's funny. When I was looking through results, I'm like, I can't find. I found Ironman New Zealand won that, 70.3 Oceanside.
Yeah.
St. George won there, Mount Tremblant, and then
Vineman,
Vineman.
Yes,
But
all halves.
All halves.
Yeah,
which is great because then you work on speed.
Yeah, too many birthdays. My legs are ready to come in more fine-tuned than tired, more fresh. Yeah, as Matt says, fit and fresh for us purple patchers is to not come in fit and tired.
Right.
So that's the goal, is to keep the vibrancy of the legs and not come in ready to snooze at mile 1 of the marathon. So,
but it's interesting when you've had a number of years, you've done so many different fulls.
Yeah.
You sort of feel like that's the way I get ready.
It's true.
Has this been hard for you?
Yes.
A little chomping at the bit a little bit?
I'm excited. I mean, it's been nearly 9 months since I've done a full. So now mentally too, I'm prepared. Half seem like, hey, you're done by freaking
it's a cocktail
brunch.
weenie, right?
It's like,
have an
here
appetizer.
we're done by happy hour, so life is all good. Though you don't feel like a cocktail at 4 p.m.
Right.
when you're done, but you do the next day. It's been really great. What's so fun is that I can rack my bike tomorrow and walk away and be like, we've done everything we can to prepare for October 11th.
Right.
And now it's just time to sort of celebrate that and go out and do what we love to do a job.
Are you feeling fresher? The fact that you haven't done, because sometimes you don't even realize it. It's like it becomes a routine.
It's
you
true.
do a full, you do a half, you do a full.
Yeah, much fresher. Just much more ready to race a full, mentally, physically. Yeah.
Rather than just mentally, you're going, I just did one of these 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, and I'm over it. No, I haven't raced since World's 70.3. I came the next day after that event, and so to try to really prepare in this weather, and here we are.
Well, talk a little bit about that. This is the earliest you've come.
I did it last year too.
You got this this early last time, yeah.
Because I realized I train in San Francisco, a really comfortable 50 to 70 degrees.
Yes.
And I'm never cold, never hot. It's sort of just perfect.
Right.
Here it takes me a long time to get used to the heat. Really, it takes me a good week or two before I can walk out and not be
drenched,
yeah. So we need to do that just to get used to also the mental aspects of the terrain, riding the Kona course. I mean, I think I know every mile marker on the way to Javi, and I'm just mentally more prepared in that capacity.
one of the things we were talking about earlier is the field here is unbelievable.
Unreal.
I mean, the women's field is,
Yes.
there's probably 10 women.
Absolutely.
I wouldn't be surprised if they won the race.
Yeah.
Right? And 20, I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the top 5.
Exactly. It's true.
Is this the deepest field you've ever seen?
Ever. I mean, right, that's how our sport should be. Every year it should get deeper and deeper and deeper, and that evolution, it's happened. And now this year with you have the old veterans, the Leandas, the Rinnies, and all those great gals, and you have the newbies, Daniela, and the dark horses that will surprise you. That I feel badly because I could name 35 girls here.
Always.
So yeah.
Yeah. No. When you are not racing, do you look at what the other gals are doing? Is it one of those, like Macca was the type of guy who would be every weekend checking results, seeing who's doing what.
Yep.
For yourself, is there, obviously it takes a lot of time just focusing on you, right? Just focusing on everything you got going and your training and racing. But are you one of those type of folks who follows what the others are doing?
Well, so I'm not an overanalyzer. I mean, that goes as deep as like I'm involved with what power I'm doing or what marathon I'm running, pace in the moment, and then I don't tend to look at it ever again because I don't like to kind of stay in that moment. I'm in it during the time and then I'm gone. Same goes for racing. I actually just genuinely care how my friends in the field, in the pro field, are doing. I have my friends in the sport that I absolutely track them, but that's not for my knowledge. It's for making sure they're having a good race. They didn't crash their bike. They felt good, and that comes from a genuine place. And of course, though, there's two sides. I actually look at the start list of a race because I like to know, oh yes, she can really swim, she can really bike, she can really run. I like knowing who's around me because it's just good to have that knowledge, I feel.
So when you do analyze last year's race and where the wheels came off, do you put that on? Hey, I just did too much racing. Was it nutrition? How did you got you in that figure?
It was a little bit of everything. I think it was a lot had to do with nutrition and metabolically in the moment. Just female hormones and everything, just like everything, the stars didn't align. Everything wasn't magically in place. I don't believe in luck in our sport, except in Ironman. You need a little bit of luck. That comes with,
it's got to be good weather days.
Puncture gods and the weather, just everything kind of followed. It just wasn't my magical day, but it was at the same time the good from it. It was our best performance here in Kona. I mean, my year before I crashed in DNF. Year before I got 26th. So
breakthrough.
Yeah, it was more of a breakthrough race. Why we felt a little sad about it is because we were so prepared and ready for a little higher status in the race, and the wheels just came off then at mile 5, and I learned a lesson. Don't take your first 5 miles out in 6-minute pace thinking you can hold that, because let me tell you die.
It's funny, we just had Jim Vance in here talking about, he looks at the first mile of the race, and then the pace for the first mile and the pace for the entire marathon.
Right.
Rinnie and Frederick were 20 seconds faster than for the first mile, but most people were a lot more than that. Bart Arnotts was 7 seconds, so that not going out too hard.
Right.
It's hard not to, though, right?
Oh, it's so hard.
Crowds
you have this adrenaline. You're excited to be off the bike after, so many hours. And so, absolutely. So I got to control that, and I will be looking to do that. I haven't worn a watch all year. I did in New Zealand, and I'm going to, because the half, by the way, you're just full gas the whole time. Yeah. But in the full, you do need to, at least I do need to control it in the front end so I can find that groove and that rhythm. Yeah.
So after 53 Ironman races, what was your best race? The race where you felt it was just, gosh, it's over already? I can't believe it.
Yeah, probably New Zealand back in March, and that was a good stepping stone for this race because that was my breakthrough marathon, 3:07 or whatever. That was good for me.
Absolutely.
I'm well aware that we need to go about 10 minutes faster than that here, and I know that. So that's what we prepared to do, and why. And I said it before, I want to still care what's happening. I felt when I was 7th last year that I was just in survival mode to the finish, that I didn't care who was passing me, and I want to still be present and be in the moment and be racing. And that's what I'm looking forward to the most doing on Saturday.
One of the things that connects us is Challenge Athletes Foundation.
That's right, yes,
and you've been such a great ambassador for the foundation.
Thank you.
What is it about the foundation that moves you?
Right. Well, I've had the fortune of being a part of it since probably 3 years now. I'm headed back to the race in San Diego here after Kona. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm more
inspired by the young children who have this, let me use last year's triathlon as an example. This is my favorite one, is I was running with Gianna, who had just, pretty new prosthetics, and we did a kids race, as you know, and Gianna literally fell every step of the half-mile kids race, and it didn't even faze her to get back up and keep going. And she finished that sucker. She was fast when she was running, and even when she fell flat on her face, she got right back up. And that's what I actually will think of on Saturday when I'm in the well and such. She had no qualms. She just brushed it off her shoulder, and she was back up. She finished, and she was happy.
Got her medal.
And now I bet you this year she won't fall as much, and she'll run the entire one now that she's really used to it and learning the ropes and everything. So that sort of inspires you as a human, not just an athlete, as a human, to just be a better person.
And there's points during a race where you'll draw on that.
Absolutely, 100%, yeah. And there'll be challenge out there. Mohammed, who I'm very close to.
Ricky James, you'll see
Ricky
out there,
James, all those guys, and I hope to see them for more fuel.
Love it. Meredith, thank you so much for everything you do for the sport. You're such a great ambassador for it, not just for CIF, but for the sport itself.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me here again, Bob.
Meredith Kessler has been our guest. That is a wrap for day 4 of Breakfast from Kona from beautiful Huggos. We are presented by Active, #Inspire to Race. Other sponsors, Timex, Rudy Project, GoPro, MPA Graphics, Love Magazine, Babbittville Radio. Poncho Man, take us out.
So come with me into the sea. It's Breakfast with Bob, Breakfast with Bob, Breakfast with Bob and Meredith.
Hey, Poncho Man, you're a legend.
Hey, happy Aloha Thursday.
Oh, we got a quick photo of Meredith. Make her meet it.
I'm sorry that I'm